in there. Finds the left side. She's in for her par.
Yeah, that first putt is always just a little bit of a heart stopper, and you could see that Tiger was trying to get her footing so it felt right.
Lisa Fakis will take her par. We have a much smaller sample size of scores to look at today because we have cut to the top 40% of the division. Also likely see the round speed up. Better weather and less competitors. We're going to take a look at Haley King. This is last year when she was in the hunt along with Paige Pierce to try and take down the GMC.
And they finished out at Fox Run last year. And you can see Haley missed a few putts just barely, but look at the score at the bottom of the screen. They were tied, but Haley let those missed putts get to her. She was thinking too much about them. And this is over on 16 as she putted for bogey. So they truly pushed it down to the very last few holes. But it was that bogey that kind of put the round to a screeching halt for Haley. She only finished 2 back of Paige Pierce. But what we have seen out of Haley this year, although she has not won a DGPT event, I have seen enormous growth with how she shot at the last round of MVP. It was struggling, looked like she had just given up on herself. And now to come out, reset for this tournament, you know, feel comfortable on these courses and to shoot a course record yesterday. I can't wait to see how a player like Haley with an immense skill set, so much talent, how she can get her mind together, and that is really truly what holds her back from winning basically every tournament out there.
And Val, if Haley is getting the right advice and the right coaching, what she can do is take these experiences where she did have, mental faltering when the pressure was on. It's happened a couple of times for her, and she can take those experiences and say, I'm not going to do that again. I can look back and reflect and see where I started to get into a negative mindset, and if I find that happening, I'm going to turn the switch. I'm going to use a different mental tool or trick to get me out of that headspace quickly. And that's the key, especially for players who have so much emotion, is don't let yourself get very far down that path of the negative headspace. Pull yourself back in.
Good looking tee shot there by Heather Young. Being on the right side of the fairway may not be as detrimental to her, of course, being left-handed.
We've seen with Heather, she's got quite a strong sidearm as well as a backhand, so that certainly gives her an advantage on wooded courses where you often find yourself in an encumbered position.
A good kick back toward the fairway for Tiger.
Hole 2 played as one of the hardest holes on the course in round 2. We have an out-of-bounds line riding the entire way of the fairway. It's a par 4, 540 feet.
That is low out of Weiss's hand and not much ground play.
And currently the statistics today, 50% of the field has carded pars, 50% of the field bogey.
Also a good kick out toward the center of the fairway. And when we come back, we're going to give you some lead card action. Haley King trying to hunt down her first ever Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series event. All of that and more right here on the Disc Golf Network. We'll see you in a moment.
Introducing the Rebel from Upper Park Disc Golf. This is our top-of-the-line bag. At just 3 pounds 11 ounces, this bag is designed with comfort and build quality in mind. We paired our stacked storage design with a lower compartment, so total capacity is over 30 discs when the side pockets are included. We've also included 2 adjustable dividers that allow you to decide how things are organized. We innovated on the classic mini pocket with our quick draw slot right up top. It's also got a soft protective pouch that's great for holding a phone. When you zip the bag open, the stretch pocket keeps the main flap out of the way. We've also included dual 32-ounce water bottle pockets, so you can stay hydrated on even the longest of courses. On both sides of the bag, you've got huge stuff-it pockets that are perfect for extra discs, clothes, or snacks. On the left side, there's a strap to keep your chair or umbrella at the ready. We've even tossed in a rain fly at no extra charge. The base is tough, waterproof, and has 5 feet for stability. We know comfort is crucial, so the backside features a ventilated back panel and adjustable shoulder straps. There's even a removable sternum strap in the middle for longer walks. With every iteration of this bag, we've listened to our customer feedback and implemented it to make the product better. If you're looking for corners we cut, you won't find them. The Rebel is available in 3 colors: herb green, rust red, and hydro blue. You can pick up a Rebel and other accessories at upperparkdiscgolf.com.
You are 332 feet from the basket. You are 270 feet from the basket.
And welcome back. We find Heather Young on the right side of the fairway of hole number 2.
And hole 2 just continues straight, so it's going to require very accurate shots just to stay on the fairway or just on the edge.
You can see Heather leaning out to get the maximum possible airspace. And of course, the disc gods being what they are, she found herself landing behind a tree well up the fairway, so she'll have a fairly similar shot to make for her 3rd.
See Double G out on the bag. This is Jessica Weiss's 3rd shot.
Yeah, Double G has a little time to kill before he needs to play around this afternoon. And of course, he has to make sure that if Jessica gets hungry, there's some beef jerky at the ready.
There's no shortage of that out there on the tour, that's for sure. Double G calls it money. He likes it. He'll be teeing off at 1:55 Eastern. Maybe she'll be reciprocating the caddy services a little later.
Absolutely. I can't see what she would be doing other than out in the sunshine.
Thank you guys for spectating. I'm Jeff Stringham, tour director. Just a couple quick housekeeping notes. Please let the players go, their caddies, the media, and then this rope line. Please be quiet and still when the players are throwing. And of course, you can give them a big round of applause when they have a great shot. In fact, let's show some appreciation for this lead card on the final day. Give them a round of applause. And turn it over to our starter.
All right, welcome everybody back to the 4th and final round. This year's Green Mountain Championship. Congratulations for making it to this point. I remind you all to take your cards at the end are your final scoring tallies up to the scoring shed, and not linger too long on 18. You remember that you have 360-degree relief from any of the media assets on the course. Without any further ado, I show Haley, Sarah, Paige, Katrina as the order, okay? So let's welcome into the tee box. From West Bend, I'm going to guess Indiana, it's not on my...
Wisconsin.
The reigning Disc Golf Pro Tour champion, representing Team Discraft, currently sporting a 5-stroke lead, I believe. Let's give it up for Haley King.
And that's a safe shot. She didn't get too aggressive trying to turn it over.
Representing Team MVP, the 2009 Green Mountain champion and former world champion, Sarah Holcomb. Joining us next from Plano, Texas. She's representing Team Discraft. She's a current Green Mountain champion title holder and a 5-time world champion. Let's give a warm welcome for Paige Pierce. Middle. And rounding out this awesome foursome from Pipestone, Minnesota, representing Team Prodigy, 2-time world champion, Kat Allen.
And as our lead card will make their way down the fairway, we have to look at what we're seeing out of Haley King in the early going. She actually bogeyed this during round number 2. Today she goes with a backhand. Are you somewhat surprised by that, Elaine?
I am a little surprised because she's got such a strong forehand, but it's not a bad thing to just make a straight shot down that alley with whatever technique you're most comfortable with. Just don't get yourself into trouble right off the bat. You could possibly have a long putt. We saw Katrina Allen with the same type of strategy. I think Katrina did throw a flippy disc that didn't quite flip as much as she would like, but definitely erring on the side of being straight or even a little bit left will give you a chance at a long putt for a birdie, or at worst would give you a par.
Pierce with her standstill putter approach. Looks like she should have a par.
And already a sizable crowd to watch the top 4 women battle it out on this very, very challenging course.
And we did have a cut after yesterday's round, so the field was cut by 50%. We have 21 competitors playing today. So I'm sure a few of them are in that crowd that didn't make the cut.
She wasn't too interested in running that basket aggressively. That's a nice layup for Haley, and she'll have herself in position to just start off on an even keel with a par.
I'm certainly expecting the average overall scoring for this course to go down significantly. Not only did you say that we're cutting to the top 50% of the field, dealing with, we're also not looking at rain and other conditions that are out there. The average score for round 2 was almost 8 over par for the FPO division.
That was a good run by Katrina from a circle 2. And as you can see, she's got the umbrella, so I don't know. Terry, Kat's expecting that maybe a few raindrops could fall.
Speaking of things falling, that one goes down for Sarah Holcomb. Exact same thing that she did during round number 2. She had exactly 1 birdie last time she played here, and it was this very hole. See if she can build on that. Paige, meanwhile, is in for her par.
On this course, if you are looking at the basket for birdie, you need to capitalize. And seeing Sarah Holcomb do that right off the bat is a good sign. And that was no drop-in putt either. So shaking those nerves, hitting the first putt of the day, that's always a good sign.
And just like that, she's already trimmed the lead from 4 down to 3 with 17 left to play. We're going to take a look at Paige Pierce and the victory that she had last year at the Green Mountain Championships. Of course, we continue to talk about how her and Haley were really out just for a 2-woman race at this point.
And it's always the best, most exciting and entertaining when you have 2 competitors in the field playing their best golf down the stretch. And like I said, Haley brought it down to the last few holes with Paige. And really, when you throw your drive on 18, it's still not over. And Paige absolutely smashing it down the fairway. I'm expecting a similar storyline this year, although, as I mentioned, we're playing on the wooded course, Brewster Ridge, where the strokes can really be handed back and forth, and it's a little less apparent on what is going to happen on any given hole.
Absolutely. The excitement about finishing for the women on Brewster is anything can happen. And you've seen it on previous tournaments where there have been huge swings, very unexpectedly, sometimes right at the very end of the round.
Well, and 2 of the most difficult holes on the course are 15 and 16. We then see them compete on 17. That's a little bit easier, and 18 is rarely birdied, as we talked about back in round number 2. So I was saying a few days ago that I feel like whatever the scores are by the end of 17, it's likely what you're going to see unless somebody does something special on 18. Again, it's been birdied, but it's somewhat rare. Now we're taking a quick look at the conditions in Jeffersonville, Vermont, about 30 to 40 minutes outside of Burlington, which is where most people will either fly into or they'll go do a lot of visiting as if they don't have enough to do at Smuggler's Notch. But humidity a little bit higher than we saw yesterday. The winds I saw, I think, at 6 miles per hour. So, of course, they're guarded in this much more wooded course as opposed to being out in the open at the Fox Run Meadows course. But we'll see. We see plenty of movement right now with the trees. Here's Sarah Holcomb on the tee of 2.
Yeah, Terry, they're still at that place in the course where there is a road running through and a wind tunnel. So we'll expect the wind to be less of a factor as they get a bit deeper into the course, but to come again into play towards the end.
That was pushing to the OB wall on the right side, but she gets the green flag.
Yeah, Sarah's rather fortunate that she hit some trees there because that disc was tracking for out of bounds.
Shot off of the tee. It's a gradual slope up to the landing zone there in the dirt in the distance. Players are looking to land just short of that bright spot. That's a great kick from Haley, bouncing her to the right-hand side of the fairway.
And as you can see from these first two drives from Haley, she's not trying to get too aggressive. She's trying to play more conservative shots to reduce the number of errors. And that's not a bad strategy since she had 6 bogeys the first time around on Brewster. She'd love to see a bogey-free round here, but boy, that would be an accomplishment to shoot bogey-free on Brewster.
Wow, and Paige Pierce, a nearly perfect shot here on 2. Val, I think you said earlier 50% of the field has bogeyed this hole, and the other 50% have taken par. So par or better would be great out here on hole 2. Hold to the right, but it does stay in bounds. She'll be out of position on that right-hand side. Take another look at the near perfect drive by Pierce.
And that is what it's going to take on most all the tee shots out here. You get a huge advantage if you're able to get off the tee with a clean shot ahead of yourself. But it takes a lot of strategy out on this course and knowing it well and knowing the landing zones that you need to be in to execute the next shot. You can see today, hole 2 playing as the 4th hardest currently, but no birdies yet to be found.
And it would take 2 extraordinary drives and perhaps a throw-in to get a birdie on hole number 2. It's just too long in terms of distance. It's 540 feet, but that raw distance doesn't take into account the uphill grade that the slope finds itself up to that pin. And as well, the fairway is not dead straight. It does a funny little jog in the middle. So players have to navigate around a lot of trees and are not able to just simply blast 2 shots straight forward.
And when we look back to the last time they played here, this was the most difficult hole on the course. It averaged a full stroke over par, and there was exactly 0 birdies 2 days ago as well.
And there's Katrina trying to get around the corner, around that little jog you were mentioning.
So that was a very well controlled shot, and she looks like she'll have, at worst, a sidearm opportunity for her next shot to the basket.
Now we're with Jessica Weiss on the tee of 3.
This is up and over the hill, about 300 feet to the pin. And that's a great drive. It's a slight drop off beyond the pin, so you want to be as close to that basket as possible.
Sarah looks like she's got a nice alley if she leans out close to that OB wall. Of course, the danger is if she hits anything, it could bounce her out of bounds, so she'll want to be very precise with the execution of this next shot.
Looks like she hit her line and hit a very late tree. I think it was nearly coming down anyway. She should be happy with that effort.
She advanced well up the fairway and has got herself in really good position to take a par.
We have to keep in mind, pars are, that's a scoring score on any one of these long holes. You know, we're not seeing birdies, so if you're getting a par, you are scoring on the field. Although it's tempting to go for the big shots every time, par will do you well, as we saw from Sarah Holcomb in round 2.
Yeah, and Val, I'd say there's a few shots that players will be looking to get a birdie or a deuce, and hole number 3, as we saw from Jessica Weiss, is one of those. But the par 4s are typically, I mean, that's a 4. That's what you want to get. Haley is looking a little bit apprehensive about this shot. I'd like to see her throw it with some aggression. And it's aggression, but she missed her line. She didn't look like she was confident of it.
That went over the rock wall, I believe. That's out of bounds for Haley, and she doesn't gain much distance with that second shot.
Yeah, so much more important to play a controlled shot than to get too much distance up the fairway. We're probably going to say that several times more before the end of this tournament round.
She's got a slip on her last step and leaves it inside. Not the worst result.
She was actually on the short tee, on the edge of it, and of course that's very strange footing because she must have her plant foot directly behind where her mark was, and kind of tough to let go of a disc when you're teetering a little bit on that narrow stone.
What's already creeping into my mind is that Haley King comes out here with a 4-stroke lead and now finding OB on the second hole with Sarah Holcomb in the fairway. We're going to see her 4-stroke lead maybe even turned into a 3-stroke lead just a few moments ago. And by the end of this hole, it could be a 1 or even a no lead whatsoever.
So this is where Haley really needs to take a huge breath, say, I'm on hole number 2, there's lots of golf ahead, I made an execution error, I know what I did, and she did follow that up with a good controlled shot progressing up the fairway. So that's exactly what she needs to do. She needs to just remain calm.
We saw Jessica's drive. Here's her putt for birdie. And she cans it. Nice putt by Jessica Weiss.
Hole 3 is a hole you really want to get. It's one of the more fun, deuceable holes. And in a moment, we'll see what the lead group can do with that hole. But meanwhile, Katrina, as we thought, has got a sidearm approach. She's got a very nice, smooth sidearm.
Great approach by Katrina Allen. That's going to give her a look.
She'll have a shortish uphill putt at the basket.
And on this course, I think that it's such a huge advantage to throw both backhand and forehand shots. You never know where you're going to land, and if you can come up with some strategy to scramble, that is just an incredible advantage.
And we've seen over the years, Val, that players who were predominantly sidearm or predominantly backhand used to be very numerous, and now just about every player has a strong backhand and a strong sidearm. I'd say Sarah Holcomb is one of the few players who is reticent to pull out a backhand, but yesterday we saw her pull out more backhands than normal.
Here's his third.
Yeah, Paige's second shot set her up so nicely in a clear alleyway to the basket. and she makes this hole look easy.
And with Paige being the defending champion, she has not put together a great round yet for this tournament. So with this one round to play, she is primed to shoot something incredible, but it would take an enormous amount of effort to catch up to Haley and Sarah.
Well, when you look at Paige's performance the first time around at Brewster, she had 5 birdies. So with that ability to score, if she can just keep herself away from the errors, she could make a move.
Well, I'll follow up that number with you. I was looking at that as well. She had 5 birdies on this course. The other 7 women in the top 8 in our top 2 cards, they collectively had 10 birdies. So Paige had 5. The other 7 women had just 10. So she certainly was out there scoring and getting plenty of birdies, but she was giving them back with a lot of over par strokes. And Katrina with a great par save here. She'll also be picking up some ground on our leader, Haley King.
And this is huge for Katrina. She has had putting struggles. It was especially magnified on this course in round 2, where she came into the round with a lead and she just could not put the putter in the basket. Great to see Katrina capitalize with a great putt.
Paige Pierce had tapped in for a par, as did Sarah Hokum. And Haley King will take the double bogey, and again, the lead will shrink. And that's what I was saying a little bit earlier. 4 strokes has now diminished to a single stroke lead. And with both Paige and Kat also opening strong, they continue the chase.
And from my experience, it is so hard to come into a round with a few stroke lead. And the way that you have to set up your mental game is that you're always behind, that you're tied going into that final round. Because if you feel like you have a lead and you start to get comfortable, that's when you can give up strokes quickly. So hopefully Haley can kind of reset, get into that competitive mode, and really focus in, because the lead has shrunk and we're just 2 holes in.
Yeah, Val, the mental space I like to put myself in is I want to win every round. I just consider every round to be starting fresh, and I want to win the round. That way you're, as you say, you're not coasting on your past good performance, but you're saying to yourself, you have to take this seriously every shot. That's a too early a turnover, but she had turned her back and didn't see how far the disc kicked into the fairway. So Sarah may be pleasantly surprised by her lie when she gets up to it.
This is pushing to the left side of the basket and pin high for Pierce. This looks like it's going to be coming right in at the pin, and it is a little bit short, but on line for Katrina.
It's a bit of a low shot, but plenty of power, and Haley finds herself close to her teammate Paige, both looking at the basket.
Let's take another look at Katrina Allen's form and run up. Looks like she's going to have closest to the pin.
And she did have the most ideal line on this hole. You fly up and over the hill, and Katrina kept it high. but not too high where you're hitting the branches that create a little bit of a low ceiling. But she hit the line in the sky and then just allowed the disc to fade down to the pin. It's blind from the tee pad, so players only know what point in the sky to aim for. And if they have the correct distance to continue carrying over the top of the hill and the disc can fade back and do all the work, we've got 3 great looks at birdie with Sarah Hokum here in the middle of the fairway.
We saw just 2 birdies in round number 2. None coming from our lead card. Hokum looking just to pitch it up next to the pin.
And she's in the wood chips for a very short putt for her par. So meanwhile, Haley King has checked up from the experience she had on the first round where she threw the shot far too straight, far too hard. So she's given it a little bit more hyzer and with a much better result. She's got a clear look at the basket from just about circle's edge.
A little ground play after not connecting. It's going to be at least 20, maybe 25 from the pin, putting slightly back uphill. Paige from almost an identical position, looking to pick up another stroke. And she will.
And what a difference you could see even from the back of these players. Paige's demeanor was aggressive. I'm going to get this putt. And Haley, her shoulders were kind of sunk. She was a little hunched over. And she didn't look like she was going to attack that putt. And indeed left it just a little bit short on this comeback where she's going to need to get her arm up. Much better.
Solid comeback putt for our leader in Haley King.
And although not losing a stroke to her closest competitor, Paige Pierce is in the rearview mirror now.
And our current world champion, Katrina Allen, will tap in. She had closest to the pin and the birdie. We need you to stay right here. We're going to step aside for just a moment for a word from our sponsors, but the action continues to heat up in the early goings for the final round of the 2021 Green Mountain Championship. We'll see you in a moment.
Focus. Get rid of any of those pressure thoughts and really center yourself, like where you're at and the shot you're throwing. Trying to just really let everything besides the basket bleed away.
Welcome back. We are on the tee of hole number 4. And Paige Pierce is now just 3 strokes behind Haley King. Sarah Hokum a single stick behind. Here's Pierce on the tee of 4.
That misses the line and has a huge kick. Much better looking shot from Kat. Progresses well up the fairway. Hole 4 is 560 feet. It has a very, very slight bend in the fairway, and it's just all about how far you can cleanly get up. Some players will be throwing drivers, others may be throwing a fairway just in order to control, especially the skip at the end of the flight.
And there's that lighter tree in the middle. Players want to play to the left-hand side of that. And Sarah, with the forehand, can bend it around and get extra distance.
Great focus there from Haley.
Yeah, what really strikes me is that she paused a little bit longer. She hesitated on the tee. Normally, she's just a very quick player. She gets up and throws almost instantly when it's her turn to throw. There, she took just an extra moment. She's asking for it to get up. We saw the wind kind of jostle a few of the shots around. But Haley King, now that much more pressure. Val, we saw 0 birdies on this in round number 2. It played as the second most difficult, and that's what it's doing today as well.
It is, but actually the statistics are much higher than hole 2, which is a very difficult hole as well. 33% of the field has carded pars, and about 70% of the field bogey or worse. So with this bend around the corner and then that tight shoot at the very end, this hole is very challenging today.
Paige didn't get a whole lot of distance off the tee, but boy, she made up for it with that beautiful Anheuser shot that put her right in the middle of the fairway at the end.
And different from hole 2, there's no out of bounds on 4.
This is Heather Young. That was her par bid. Just off the line for her, and we can see plenty of the wind up there, even tucked into the course.
Wow, and the way the wind is blowing through the trees, it's loud. A little more space on this fairway, and I'm wondering how much the wind is affecting the discs.
Katrina, again, a very well-controlled sidearm. If she continues to play like that, she could start creeping up on the leaders. However, she's got a lot of work to do. And her mindset possibly is just being a little concerned about the chase card to make sure nobody on the chase card is creeping up on Katrina.
Sarah's in such an ideal position. You can see the basket in the distance, slight bend to the right at the very end. This is a great opportunity for Sarah to get close to the pin.
Just slightly too wide. But a favorable kick. She's still in the fairway and will be in good position to get a par.
Haley getting out her rangefinder.
And Haley, you see just a little bit to the left. So it's going to challenge a backhand shot because she's not able to use all of that right-hand side. It's going to be a very technical shot if she plans to go for the basket.
And a very technical shot she threw. She's up there within putting range, although the basket is guarded, as you can see those trees on the right side.
Up ahead on the 5th, we've got Jessica Weiss. Has a good-looking line. We'll see if that skipped down toward the basket. We'll check back in later. Here's Paige Pierce throwing her 3rd. Tracking to the right side of the pin. A little bit long, but that should give her a look to save her par.
And speaking of her approaching from Paige's point of view to the right side of the basket, that definitely is the play. As you can see, there's rock walls, there's trees on the left side of the basket, and so definitely approaching from the right is the higher percentage shot.
That's tracking right at the pin. Also a little bit long, but right on line for Holcomb.
That was a tough technical shot for a sidearm thrower. She had to bend that disc in a way that was unnatural to its flight. She must have used a flippy disc. I know she loves to use the spin. And Katrina hit a tree, but she is close enough to the basket to make this a short putt.
And here we are again on 5. This is Lisa Fakis for her birdie look. Oh, a good run just off the front of the cage. A little bit low. She'll go on to tap that in for par.
And Haley's walking up to her lie that hit the rock wall. I'm interested to see what the stance is going to be like. She's able to swing her arm and do her regular putting style.
And note she's electing not to use her mini marker, which allows her to put her back foot up to 11 inches behind that disc and thus get better footing. And you can see her audible disappointment, mouthing, you know, a few words of chagrin to herself for missing that putt. She can't be thinking like that. She needs to think that, wow, that was an opportunity. I was really close to getting that opportunity. I'm going to make more opportunities for myself and I'll eventually start hitting them. But I'm hoping she doesn't get herself into a negative frame of mind. Meanwhile, Katrina hits metal again. It looks like whatever issues she's had with her putting this tournament, she has figured them out, and we've seen several just beautiful putts hitting like dead center of the sweet spot. And of course, Katrina's putts have not been far off. It's just been normally a height issue rather than an accuracy issue.
Page, short left side of the cage, which is going to result in a bogey. So Sarah Holcomb to pick up her third consecutive par. Sarah's focused and dialed here in the early goings. Same start we saw from her a few days ago, where she opened with the birdie and then put together a string of 14 pars or so in a row.
Well, Paige got a large bounce off the basket.
Pierce will go back to par on the round.
It was a great chance for Haley to get back a stroke. Like you said, Elaine, don't take your mind out of it. Focus in. It is still so early for Haley King.
Earlier we saw Jessica Weiss's forehand drive here on 5, and she converts. Jessica Weiss already matching the birdie count she had in round number 2. She had 2 birdies, and that's exactly what she has already through just 4 holes today. Correction, through 5 holes.
Yeah, able to recover after the bogey strokes, which is a good sign that Jessica can stay in it, kind of bounce back. And 3 and 5 should get birdies. They're not gotta get, but they're certainly great birdies, especially for a forehand thrower.
Jessica Weiss to pull just 1 stroke closer now to Katrina Allen with that birdie. Here's Kat with the honors on 5.
It is a tight line for a backhand. OB on the left-hand side. Katrina, beautiful straight drive all the way down the road.
It's 285 feet, and it's actually slightly uphill off the tee. So it really favors a left-hand backhand or a righty sidearm. So Sarah will be looking to keep her disc with about a medium height straight down the pike and just let it fall towards the basket.
Did not get an extreme kick out to the right, so that could be right on the out of bounds line.
That's a much better line that Haley's got, and her disc scoots up there to inside circle 1, and that's how you want to play the hole.
Should get her back on track. Haley King trying to negate the double bogey that she had on hole number 2.
I'm surprised that Paige is not throwing sidearm more. We have not seen her throw sidearm very much this tournament at all. We know she's got a great sidearm. And what happened there is she was trying to flip over a backhand.
This was a huge moment for Haley. Knowing that Sarah could possibly be out of bounds on the left-hand side, she knew she had to hit the shot, give herself a chance at a birdie putt, and she made it work. There could be a chance of a 1-stroke swing, possibly a 2-stroke swing, depending on if Sarah's safe or not.
They're making their way down the fairway. Paige marked at out of bounds here on this left side. Looks like we've got Alyssa Van Lannen on the bag today.
And now she is forced to throw a sidearm. So let's see how she can execute this. She still has quite a distance to get before the disc turns over to the right.
Oh, too wide.
Yeah, she said too wide. Fortunately, that tree hit put her into the fairway instead of outside.
Here's Jessica Weiss's second shot on hole 6.
Wow, that was strange. That hung on her hand, and yeah, now she's gonna still have a lengthy putt.
Sarah Hokum also looks like she is out of bounds, with the disc resting on the wall, perhaps put there by a spotter.
It's gonna take a great recovery for Sarah to stick at a single bogey stroke.
That's a solid recovery shot for Sarah. Like you're saying, hopefully just limiting herself to the bogey, which would bring her back to even par on the round. However, this is looking like it could be a 2-stroke swing. Haley King, if she converts, that would push her to 5 under. Sarah Hokum would go back to 2 under, and that 1-stroke lead would expand to 3. Meanwhile, Paige Pierce has some of her own struggles.
She was trying to give it a long bid. Such a tough shot.
Trina's drive is basket high. Just outside the circle.
And she's looking at a significant downhill for the putt. And if she was to miss the basket, it could possibly get behind the trees that are far of the basket. So she needs to hit metal. And it looks like she wasn't really fully committed to that very aggressive and risky putt. So she'll be probably taking a par.
Katrina really frustrated with her effort. We saw just 2 birdies here during round number 2, and today we've already seen 3. Pierce, however, was one of the 2 birdies back in round 2, and now she's putting for double bogey. But first we've got Sarah Hokum. She's putting for bogey. Solid putt by Hokum.
So much focus. I was thinking that small tree to the left of her arm going to come into play, something to think about. But Sarah is locked in, and that putt looks strong.
All weekend, her putting has been very, very consistent.
Cat misses from short range, and after all of that action that Haley just watched unfold in front of her, she will finally tap in, and that is for a birdie. And just like that, Sarah Hokum is now 3 back of Haley King.
Wow. That's why we love woods golf.
And here we are rejoining Jessica Weiss. This is her par attempt on 6. The downhill doesn't connect. Our competitors are moving over to hole number 6. Meanwhile, Jessica would then go in and ultimately tap in for the bogey. See a little bit of a roller coaster here in the early goings for Weiss. Jessica had 2 birdies in round number 2.
And again, you know, it is just all about minimizing the mistakes and all about hitting your line.
That was Fakis's birdie look.
We have not seen too many birdies on that hole, but again, par is a great score on a lot of these holes. Just minimize the bogeys. And so far, Lisa only has 1 bogey on her scorecard, playing very clean, consistent golf.
Well, and Lisa Fakis actually had the hot round out of all FPO competitors out here in round number 2. She shot an even par. She had 3 birdies. She had 3 bogeys. And, you know, what that really means to me is as Katrina was getting ready for round 2, after the first round, she said par is a good score out on this course. And then the very next day, she struggled mightily. She shot +9. And then the best score out of the entire FPO division, as I just mentioned, was Lisa Fakis's par. So Kat, you know, whether she was foreshadowing or just calling out what she thought, even being the best score. And then Sarah Hokum had the second best score at 1 over along with Heather Young.
Hole 6 is 335 feet and bends just a little bit to the left at the end, setting up nicely for someone with Haley's power.
And it is blind down to the pin. And that looked like a great line from Haley, but just a little bit too long. Katrina looking to follow that same route, but bend it in just before those trees in our distance.
Also pushing left side, and that will collect right at the bottom of the hill. That's at circle's edge.
And you can see how the ground slopes down to the basket, so it doesn't throw quite as far as 335. And the players will have to be putting that as a calculation when they decide how much power and height they want to put on the disc.
Needs to keep bending. Sarah asking for it to slow down. And that's a great tree kick. Back in round number 2, she went past the basket by at least 40 or 50 feet. And this time it hits a tree right next to the pin and gives her a birdie look from inside 20 feet.
Good fortune counts as well as good skill. And in the woods, you need both good skill and good fortune.
Looks a little left. If it slows down. And she's going to be just a few feet away from Katrina Allen. Let's take another look at Sarah Hookum's shot here. I'm not sure she made much of an adjustment from round 2, but this time she just found a very favorable tree kick.
She's throwing a super flippy disc because this is an unnatural bend. The disc, I think, was just starting to hyzer out, hitting the tree and putting herself unexpectedly in position for a birdie.
What are they trying to do here, Val?
And so, as I mentioned, this is a complete blind shot. So, disc choice is very important, but hitting that line and allowing the disc to stable out at the end. You can see as we slowly approach the corner, Haley threw a perfect shot, but just a little bit too straight and hit the trees in the backdrop. But if you can get them to start to bend early, the slope of the fairway begins around the corner, And so discs come in very fast, as we've seen from our group. And it is a clear shot to the basket. There's Haley from inside circle 2 for her birdie bid.
And she lets that get away from her, and she's going to have a bit of a comebacker.
The gravity of the hill and that slight slope, it just extends how far missed putts from that hillside can go past the basket. There's no out of bounds on this hole. The orange line we see is just the circle 1 marking.
And certainly, players will be much happier to be past the basket with a safer uphill putt rather than short of the basket, as we saw with Haley, where a miss can end up flying too far by. A long look by Pierce at possibly putting another birdie on her card.
Good aggressive stroke there by Paige, but just a bit high.
And there is a surprising amount of wind in the woods here, so hard to know if the wind might be adding another factor to the putt. It's hard to tell what way it's blowing, perhaps left to right as we're looking at it, and it has just increased in intensity as Katrina has her 30 seconds ticking. No, she wasn't feeling good about that putt.
Yeah, Katrina, certainly something going on there that is not the confidence we've seen from her over the last few weeks, and I feel like a few of these early putts have even further shook that confidence.
That looked good. It was just a little bit too far to the left, you know, perhaps a little bit of what I would call a lazy putt, where you just let the disc fall in its natural flight instead of firmly holding it level. And that's going to be perhaps psychologically a big issue for Haley, as she's struggling to find her momentum here in the early stages of this round.
Yeah, and Sarah Holcomb flip-flops. We just saw the two-stroke swing on the previous hole, and now we're going to see it swing back the other way. And what was... I'm just thinking about buckling up here. We're going to be on for a wild ride today.
If I was Sarah Holcomb, I would be thinking to myself, I'm a strong player in the woods. I know some of the other players, although they've got great skills, they may not have the consistent accuracy. I would be feeling, if I was Sarah, like I had the advantage. She looks so relaxed, just as if, you know, she's just waiting. So Haley, it's up, it's hyzered. If she was going to do a hyzer putt, she needed to push it more to the right side of the chains. She is still ahead, though.
Well, what was a three-stroke advantage just a few minutes ago is now back down to 1. Paige Pierce also now within 6 of Haley. We're going to move up to Jessica Weiss and her drive on the 7th.
Great drive, lots of distance.
And the fairway of this hole bends to the left. Jessica made her way to that corner. Now she's throwing uphill, and the basket is just there, perched on the rocks and the mulch. So Jessica is in a great position. Here's what her birdie putt looks like.
The jumper from circle 2 doesn't convert.
So I'm thinking about the last 2 holes and our top competitors. Sarah Holcomb was slightly off on her drive, resulting in a bogey, and that is less mental stress. Sarah can now just step up, get the drives back on track, whereas Haley, it's more of a mental game. Missing putts can really start to weigh on you, and that's when a player can be skewed off track of the initial goal.
And if you're feeling lack of confidence, it's actually easier to throw a harder shot and to execute it properly than it is to execute a fine skill shot like a putt. So this is why when players are feeling uncertain or nervous, we usually see the putting as the first skill that starts to fail them.
There's 2 options. You can go on the inside route and kind of cut the corner. This is a strategy for Paige.
And that is one of the longest drives we've seen this weekend here on hole number 7. 7 hasn't given up any birdies here today. We'll see if that changes.
And then here's the second option, all the way down the road, perfectly straight. And when you know you're by the short tee, you know you've made the corner perfectly. Great drive from Haley.
And Haley has a good strategy for her type of play. Being right at the short tee there, she will have a clear look for her second shot up to the basket.
Take another look at Haley's angle and the approach which she's taking on this whole value. You were talking about that. It seems like maybe the more power you have, the more likely you are to go out to this outside route.
I think so. And it is a more clear shot to the basket. And it really takes a lot of distance to get to that corner. And of course, accuracy. And Haley hit both of those on the head. We're going to take the drone flight because this hole is a challenging one because of the sharp dog leg. Get it?
Ahaha. So there's the left alley, and the drone is flying on the Haley King alley.
And it does take a little bit of luck if you go on the inside. Although you're cutting the corner off, the trees are sprinkled so sporadically for the next part of the hole that you just hope that you land in a good spot. Whereas Haley, Katrina, they take that long shot off of the tee, and then it's a more accurate shot up the hill. Less trees in the way, an easier approach if you're going to attack the pin. Whereas the left-hand side, you're just trying to get a little bit lucky.
And you really need to approach the basket from the right. That's where all the airspace is. No out of bounds on this hole, so you play it from wherever it lies, even if it's across that small rock wall that we saw on the drone flight. Great shot by Sarah. She navigated through the trees, and she is looking at the basket.
Here's Tiger Borth with her tee shot on 8. Wow, and a great turnover that just flexes back. Center of the fairway. Tiger Borth doing work on 8.
We have yet to see a birdie here on hole 7. So again, par is a great score, and statistics are cut in half. We've got 50% par and 50% bogey or worse.
Now, Val, I think it's fairly easy to get to about circle 2, but to get right up to circle 1 is the challenge for these women. And indeed, that was a very nice controlled sidearm again from Katrina, but it's short of where she needed to be to have a realistic look at a birdie.
Here's Jessica Weiss with the tee shot on 8. She leaks off to that right-hand side. I think we'll see likely another forehand from her. Thanks to Bushnell, we're seeing Paige Pierce has 279 left to the pin.
That's a very comfortable distance for Paige, and she's got a hyzer approach shot, which, again, is a very comfortable shot for her. But a roll! Oh,
no.
That was a vicious roll. She was within probably 15 feet of the basket. It's where that disc was setting to land, and now she's left with possibly a circle 2 putt.
Well, and maybe even worse, it looks like that one tree might be between her and the pin, might be directly in her line for putting. Here's Haley King.
Cleverly not quite landing on the tee. Although the footing seems to be a little bit iffy. She's moved away a few stones, and she's looking straight up to the basket. That was just too low. She didn't want to get it too high and hook left, but you got to get it up in the air to get to the basket.
Take another look at Paige's shot. Again, 279 to the pin. She hits the angle she wants. That comes in. Oh, and was it that rock that put it up on edge?
It was the rock that put it up on edge.
And like you said, it pushes her out of the potential to get a birdie. And there is a tree that seems to be lined up directly with the pin from that angle. There's something about this slight elevation on the basket where it's tough to get up right next to the pin and have an easy drop in. So players are forced to have putts at about 16 feet. And then, of course, you have the trees all around the pin creating the obstacle and blocking the direct shots.
So I would imagine we'll see a layup from Kat. And that's a great layup. Snuggled against the pole, and she'll have a no-stress putt for her par.
Paige.
Yeah, she's surprised.
Paige looking for a little assistance. And it looks like she may have found exactly what I was worried about. That single tree, or that largest tree, I should say, between her and the pin. She's going to reach out. She's looking to the left and to the right, but that tree is directly in her line for this putt.
And she could potentially do a hyzer putt, but there is a smaller tree that is in the way of her hyzering it in. So it looks like her only option is to try to do a very, very tricky Anheuser putt.
I worry that with the Anheuser, she's going to put plenty of power on this, and if she doesn't connect with something, it has a chance to carry a long way past the basket.
And even if it doesn't carry too far past, she could again have a tree in her line.
The basket slows her down off the mark slightly, but at least it stops and she'll have the tap in from there.
She had the angle perfectly, just a slight bit too much height. And although she missed her putt, that should give her confidence to be able to squarely hit the center, the the aim that she was looking for and just have a small height adjustment. You know, I see Paige, she's still looking confident. She's still looking like the fierce Pierce. She's looking like she's just waiting for an opportunity to really start scoring. But it's a matter of Paige having the confidence that she has, maintaining that, but toning down the aggression and just getting the aggression right. Sarah has the only birdie on this hole.
Wow, nice work by Sarah Hokum. And as we're looking at the scores, that will bring her in a tie for the lead. Sarah Hokum already has now tripled her birdie count that we saw from round 2. Here's Haley King.
That makes it in the basket, and she'll walk away with a par.
And that was a solid putt from Haley to kind of stop the bleeding of strokes being handed to Sarah Hokum. But think about it. If anybody has been in pressure situations requiring the utmost amount of focus, Sarah Hokum, from just inside the circle, knowing what it means to get a birdie on 7.
And through 7 holes, we are now all tied up for the lead. Sarah Hokum, Haley King. The battle will continue after a word from these sponsors right here on the Disc Golf Network.
I had to start thinking about the future of my career, and that's why I chose Zuka. What Zuka offers, I know will meet my needs for the rest of my career. I am Paul Ulibarri, and I am a Zuka athlete.
Hey disc golfers, would you like a tip that's going to make you instantly 3 times better at Circle 1 putting? So would I. I'd love that. I'm just really bad at it. But if you're serious about getting better at putting, you should get a 2021 Matt Bell Pro Series Steady at discgolf.com.
Stepping into the daylight, I'm on fire.
Welcome back. We've got Tiger Bohr throwing her second shot on hole 8.
She gets it well up in the air. And what a magnificent shot. That was a tough shot to navigate those trees and to set the disc down by the basket rather than going past. So Tiger really has her game dialed in.
Are you waiting for a sec or not really? Kinda. Trying to decide. Do you want me to wait or do you not want me to wait?
And Tiger has somehow gotten to this point without touching a single tree on 8, and now lining up a very short birdie putt. And
Tiger now joins Natalie Ryan and Madison Walker in carding a birdie on the tough hole 8. It plays 475 feet, and as you can see, it starts with an uphill incline.
And if you saw Sarah Hokum on the tee pad, she had her shot book opened up. Sarah Hokum prepares every tournament by writing down her game plan. And so she'll check her book on every tee of what disc she'll throw, what the strategy is. So it's very methodical, the thought process that she has.
Another player that does that is Katrina Allen. She knows what disc she plans to throw on every shot of every hole. So those of you at home, if you're practicing for a tournament, you might want to consider doing the same.
Continues to turn and push all the way to the right side for Pierce.
That looked like a slow speed disc. The way it faded off to the right, stayed in the fairway. Really has a fast speed driver, and that fades off just slightly at the very end.
And Sarah Hokum taking a look back. Very unique putting style that she's featured for quite a few years. I think all the way back to her World Championships in 2012. That was a slight variation of what we see today. She continues to adapt that throughout the years, and today it seems to be working. She's got 3 birdies, and that is her upper park play different by Sarah Hokum as she collected the birdie on hole number 7. Thank you to Upper Park for your support of all of us here on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, as well as the Disc Golf Network. Make sure you can check out some Upper Park action. You can find that, maybe pick up a bag or 2, dgpt.com/shop.
And for Sarah Hokum, she's always a consistent player. Her strength is her strategy down the fairways and hitting technical lines. But when she's playing well in a tournament, her putter is on. And it has been the case this weekend so far.
Sarah finds herself on the wrong side of that line of trees, but it looks like she is going to plan to play to the right and perhaps hook in the shot right at the end. So she'll be throwing that flippy red disc that we've been seeing. I'm not sure if that's an orbital.
Sarah landed in a similar position on her drive in round 2. She went for an earlier gap with that first opportunity, but today pushing that line of trees, and now she is well up the fairway.
If you're going to miss a gap, you want to miss a gap way down the fairway rather than missing a gap close to where your lie is. That's exactly where Katrina wanted to hit. She's a little bit short of the basket, but gives her options to either putt or lay up. Meanwhile, let's see what Jessica Weiss is doing on the 9th. Well, I heard a tree hit, but that she got some distance down the fairway, but that's not going to help a birdie hunt on hole 9 for Jessica.
She's trying to hunt down, well, at first in her sight is Katrina Allen, who is just 2 strokes in front of her. See if Jessica can continue to make a charge from the chase card.
Again, Paige finds herself off the fairway, but with the possibility of taking the right-hand alternative fairway up to the basket.
She likes it. She says it's so good. She does hit a tree up near the basket, but the double kick brings her into good position. And interestingly enough, Paige Pierce, the only woman in the entire division to get the birdie 3 here in round number 2. And today we mentioned we've seen 3 of them already, but Paige, the sole birdie from back on round number 2.
I started to get chills. That was tracking the basket. Without that tree hit, I'm sure it would have hit metal.
But when you're on that alternative fairway, that's probably what's going to happen. There's a lot of trees right at the end of that tunnel, and chances are you're probably going to hit one of them. Paige did very well to hit pretty much the last possible tree, the closest one to the basket, and that will give her a circle one putt. Meanwhile, Haley has leaked out too far to the left on her drive. She's got to bend the disc around the corner right in front of her. And
It's a great line by
oh
King.
my gosh, who would have thought she could get that close to the basket from that pinched off position she had?
Are we taking account? My hand's raised.
I've seen her forehands before. I'll give her that all day. Haley King, incredible recovery shot.
So she threw a very stable disc with a tremendous amount of anhyzer so that it was able to hyzer back right at the end of the flight. That is not a throw you can make with anything other than a very strong flick. And that's a fantastic recovery when you're thinking of recovering from way too many rounds of disc golf, or maybe playing in cold, rainy conditions where your muscles just ache afterwards. Hempfield offers products to help you recover.
As Hempfield says, feel good, play better. Here we are with Jessica Weiss. We saw her drive. This will be her second shot on the par 3, hoping to make the recovery herself. And just a little bit deep of the pin, but she'll have a downhill par look. And now back with Sarah Hokum. Hokum now trying to keep pace with Haley on this hole. Haley's got a drop-in birdie. Hokum is in circle 2.
Her first attempt from circle 2 for the putting stats today.
Yes, Sarah Hokum.
To match her 100% C1X putting, Hokum is now 100% from C2 as well.
You can just see in her demeanor, she is feeling confident. Even when she picked up her bogey on hole 5, that didn't change her demeanor one bit. She is feeling so comfortable in the woods.
That is Sarah's third consecutive birdie. Again, round number 2, she had a single birdie in the entire round. Here she's got 4 out of the first 8 and charging with the last round of the Green Mountain Championships. Here's Paige Pierce for her birdie.
And as always, when Paige makes an error, she repeats the motion properly to get that positive reinforcement of muscle memory of the way the muscles should have performed. And that's a really great and very positive way to approach your game. It's like, oh, I missed, and instead of focusing on the miss, it's like, how should I have done it? Let's do it right. Okay, reinforce it, reinforce it. And we do not ever see Katrina almost ever do that, but she put in her putt.
Not much to reinforce there as Kat finds the bottom of the basket. Her putting's been a little bit shaky in the early goings. However, it just catches the left side and in. We'll see if she can build on some of the confidence there. Again, I look at the birdie count that we saw from Katrina Allen in round 1, or correction, her first round out here. She had 0 birdies, and now she has 2 today. A few missed opportunities, and the fireworks continue as Haley King with this lunging forehand shot, missing all of the trees, just hooking up at the end and landing a few feet from the pin. Haley King doesn't want to give up the lead here at the Green Mountain Championships. And Sarah Hokum,
well, she doesn't want to give up the lead either.
She doesn't. She fought to get here, erasing a 4-stroke deficit here this morning, and she will remain tied now with Haley King.
What incredible action we have seen from this group, and that's what the Green Mountain Championship lends to us, with 2 courses that are kind of opposites of each other. It requires a well-rounded player to stick with it till the end. And again, Haley King is in the challenge mode, but it's a new competitor this year with Sarah Hokum. And I can't wait to see. We're not even halfway through the course yet, and still so many opportunities. There's a lot of growth that Haley King can continue to learn. And Sarah Hokum, the veteran, showing us how it's done.
Will it be the veteran or the young gun on tour, Haley King? We'll find out after a word from these sponsors. We'll see you in a moment. Welcome back. We are rejoining Jessica Weiss. We saw her approach shot to here. This is for par.
And that's disappointing. This is a 295-foot hole, one that is reachable by the entire field, but you have to hit your line.
Jessica went on to then take the bogey. Sarah Hokum's going to step off for a moment, maybe recalculate her plan.
And it is an exact 295. If you're hitting near the pin, it's likely you're going to be skipping past the severe slope behind the basket.
A great looking shot, but as the spectators get out of the way, lands a little bit right deep. She's going to have an uphill putt.
The best strategy is throwing a slow speed disc, bringing it in just short of the pin or bringing it in where it slows down as it approaches the basket. Trina's looking for the low shot. Can it skip? She is short, and that is a scary putt for birdie.
Haley looks like she is doing just what you were mentioning and throwing a low speed disc. A little bit hard to see where that landed, but it looked like a good solid drive.
One of the many spotters and supporters of the tournament off to locate that and mark it for Haley. This left again, and every time we've seen Paige Pierce make a mistake off the tee, it has been short and left, almost as if she's tentative, or I'm not sure what it is. But now we're going to jump over to Tiger Borth, watching her with her tee shot on 10.
This is when the wind can truly affect the drives. Bit more open here on this downhill shot. Over 400 feet to the pin.
And you can see Tiger just wound up and smashed it. And she got all the way pin high. Great shot by Tiger.
Paige, as I mentioned, on the short left side. Also interesting to note that none of the 4 women that we're seeing here on the lead card had got the birdie during round 2. We'll see if that can change here in round 4, but none of these 4 women collected the birdie.
Well, I don't think Paige is in position to do anything of the sort. She's just looking to find how she can get back out to the fairway from the very, very guarded position that she's in.
Paige at best had hopes and dreams of a par recovery here, and I don't think we're going to see that with that approach. But now we've got Heather Young with her birdie look on 10.
She's not quite as far a thrower as we saw with Tiger, so she's got more of a putt. But that is Heather Young's putt. It's very smooth, it's very flat, and it found metal from circle 2.
From 50 feet, that is Heather's second birdie of the round. First one came on hole 1.
Pierce underneath the basket, but unfortunately for her, that will be another bogey. That will bring her to +3 on the round, and likely losing one or more to our co-leaders in Hokum and King.
And of course, Paige would have been looking to come into this round to possibly win the tournament. That was within her reach. But now being 8 strokes back and half of the round gone, I think she's going to have to just focus on maintaining 3rd place. Katrina is only 2 strokes behind her. And if Katrina's putts continue to find metal like they have been, that's where she could find herself having a bit of a battle.
Here's Haley King for birdie.
Yeah, and it's that lofting hyzer putt. That was a good attempt, but if she really wants to get those in, she's going to have to flatten out her putt.
That was an extremely risky putt to go for. She had a tight line to hit immediately, but I think giving it a run and landing next to the basket, that's all you can really hope for.
Sarah sees an opportunity to take the lead outright. If only that tree was not exactly in her way.
Having power behind her putts is not something that Sarah's necessarily well known for. I think it's going to be a challenge to get it all the way up there and to then be concerned about the possible rollaway or the angles. We'll see how aggressive Hokum wants to be with this putt.
Sarah bends her elbow when she putts. That is what's unusual about her style, and that restricts her power to just what she can generate from her elbow up. The other women putt with the hinge being their shoulder rather than their elbow, and so they're able to generate more power. The most Sarah can generate is height, which will help the disc fly, and there she gave it some height, but it was not really a serious bid. In contrast, when you see Haley, which it's a full swing from her shoulder. And, you know, if I was Sarah's coach, I would be trying to encourage her to, you know, develop an alternative putting style. Might not be her primary style. And I think it's because Sarah is still pretty uncomfortable with backhand. She's been a sidearm thrower from day one. She started to develop a backhand, but she's always looked awkward with the backhand. And you'll notice how much of an anhyzer angle she gives when she's lining it up. That's to make sure she keeps her wrist at the proper angle to at least keep the disc flat.
And now we have Tiger fourth for her birdie look after that drive, and unfortunately she pulled that one wide to the right. Doesn't connect with much metal. She's got now this for her comeback par putt.
And I think that was the same distance pretty much that she had for the first one. I think she got a little anxious and she just held on. Tiger, after some initial struggles, has really leveled out, and from hole 5 onwards, she's playing a consistent game. And you've seen how strongly and confidently she's been driving.
She's 3 over for today's round. Compare that to how she finished in round 2, where she had shot +8 for that round. So looks like she's on a better pace. But right now, Sarah Holcomb and Haley King, neither were able to take advantage of the 295-foot hole number 9. And Heather Young up here on hole number 11. And that is clean. And good ground play, skipping just straight ahead. Really a perfect tee shot there by Heather Young. Now here's Tiger.
And Heather came into the round tied up with Tiger, tied up with Lisa, and Heather is leading the pack in the tie for 5th with Jessica Weiss.
Heather could continue to advance. This is the type of course where she excels. So as well as the battle for first and the battle for third, we can keep watching the battle for some of the other places, as there's good action on the chase card as well as the lead card.
Hole 10 has given up the most birdies on any hole we've seen so far today. And a beautiful drive from Sarah. Well, it's a little more open than many of the holes out here on the course. The elevation creates the biggest challenge to keep your disc on the line you throw and have it continue on for 400 feet.
That's a little bit low from Kat. She had a perfect line, just needed about a foot or more of height, and that might have carried all the way. In contrast, the height you see there from Haley.
Wow, and a great shot by King, deep of the pin. And it looks like she'll be relatively open. There's obviously just a handful of trees that surround the basket, but not only is the vertical of the tree the problem, some of those low-hanging branches really come into play if you're anything outside 10 or 15 feet. Here's Pierce asking for it to flip up, and then it's just gently leaking left, and that will be likely a tough putt from over there for all the reasons I just mentioned. I'm going to take another look at Sarah Holcomb's drive here. The forehand, trying to get it to pop up, turn over to the left, and then gently fade back to the right.
The flight of this is just perfect. She uses the right-hand side of the fairway to allow the disc to turn to the left, and it just holds that straight line until it gets just in front of the basket and hyzers out.
And going with the backhand, Haley King rips straight through.
In contrast, the style, I mean, that looks like a low-speed disc to me.
And that's smart. Haley skips it just past the pin. Anything faster than that, and she would not likely be near the basket.
I've certainly never had to disc down from that tee. Tons of power from Haley King, using it to great advantage and putting herself in a great position to look at a birdie putt.
And now that we are heading into the back nine of the final round here of the tournament, for one more clarification, Elaine, you are in fact not related to Haley King?
I share her last name, but none of her genetic material. If I did, I'd be throwing a lot farther than I do. Haley King, no relation, but very proud to have the same last name as Haley, as she is bursting onto the scene these last couple of years, and with so much more potential. We're going to see great things from Haley. We're seeing them this year. We're going to see them in future years.
Well, Paige Pierce, ready to go. Those are some of the branches I was talking about that might come into play. It's going to need to be a forceful putt by Pierce. Nails it.
I was just about to say, Terry, if the branches were bothering her, I would expect to see her down on a knee.
And when Paige is on line, she knows as soon as she extends her arm to the basket if it's going in or not. And that was on line from the start.
In fact, you could do a radio broadcast of Paige because she lets you know immediately what's happening with her shot every single time.
Well, Pierce collects the birdie, and that'll bring her back to +2.
Holcomb has that one tree.
Well, obviously it's a shot where you need the yellow putter.
And while Sarah Holcomb lines up her shot, she asks for her caddy Steve to come in and replace the putter, going to the yellow one.
The yellow one is more stable. She's got to bend it around that tree.
Yes.
And it was the yellow putter, folks.
How locked in is Sarah Holcomb right now? These are some of the most incredible pressure putts I've seen her make.
Haley King answers with a birdie of her own. She's using yellow putter. I don't know if that's some of the secret sauce there, but incredible. We are going to see 3 birdies here on hole number 10. Katrina Allen will be losing a stroke to all 3 of those women. And that one is in for the par. Wow, we are just getting fired up and heading into the back 9. The battle continues. King, Holcomb, both 6 under. And outstretched Holcomb has to maintain the balance. She's inside the circle and cans it.
And look at what she did there. She would ideally have liked to bend her knees. She couldn't really do that, so she just bent down with like her thighs pushed up to give it that bit of a straddle putt, and she needed that power.
4 down through the last 5 holes. Just looking absolutely flawless and hitting incredible putts at that.
This is the kind of focus we saw yesterday from Haley. She was so tuned in, she was relaxed, she was confident, and that's what we're seeing from Sarah today.
And Heather Young is lining up her second shot. I just want to quickly reiterate, Sarah had 1 birdie out here in round 2. She now has 5 birdies in the first 10 holes. So certainly upping her game. We thought that round was impressive. And today she said, well, if I want the title, I'm going to have to hunt down Haley King. And she's doing it thus far. They are all knotted up. Here's Heather Young.
This fairway continues downhill, and you can see the basket in the very distance. So another controlled shot, not to let elevation hyzer the disc out too much.
Get in.
Oh.
Kicking off the base of the tree and up and over. Unfortunately, that carried outside the circle. That looks like that might be 38 feet away.
Not 39?
37 and a half at most, if I had to guess. But wow, what a kick.
Clean scorecard, clean tee pad.
Oh, Val.
I was thinking a clean sweep of birdies over these last 4 or 5 holes. So impressive.
She's a sweeper. We've seen Sarah sweep before. I mean, she's got her caddy, Steve, who is perfectly capable of sweeping, and in fact is wearing the outfit that looks like that might be appropriate.
I mean, it's been a long weekend. He's been on the bag for 3 days. You know, maybe he's just standing down for a little bit, and Sarah taking care of it. And here's Tiger Borth's 4th throw.
She's She's a little bit wedged against that tree, but was clear of it on her backstroke, but that tree, I think, was hindering her preferred stance, and she pulled the disc a little bit, which you have to avoid the tree, and was finding that tree next to the basket that will give her a very challenging putt now.
Here's Lisa Fakis.
Perfectly done. Skipping short, nestling under the pin.
And Lisa's having a very, very steady round with just one bogey on the card.
Also seeing Ella Hansen. She didn't make the cut this weekend, but out here taking in the final round action. She's actively participating in the chat board. That's what she's doing. Good to see you, Ella. And Paige Pierce along with Alyssa Van Lannen.
And I'm sure Paige has taken a peek at the scores, perhaps of our competitors, and I bet she's looking at what the men are doing as we have some of the early play out on the course as the women are on the second half of their round. And this is not an easy putt. If you don't hit some metal, you might find yourself a long way away. And she found some metal, so that halts the progression of the disc. But Tiger finding trouble on this hole.
Don't stop believing.
She said keep believing. I don't think that had the sort of assertiveness that is usually associated with that phrase.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was quite in the tone we'd hear it from maybe Journey or something. Here's Heather Young after that kick on the base of the tree. Yep, that is officially Bushnelled at 37.5.
You're making that up.
I certainly am. It's actually, it is closer to 40.
Not outside Heather's range.
But that tree is going to come into play on the left-hand side. A little more Anheuser, and that would have made it. Heather put on an incredible putting performance in that second round, and that's what truly bounced her up to the lead. And it was from great distance, time and time again, saving herself with her putt.
Heather's having a great round. She's carded 2 birdies with only 1 bogey so far. And as we know, I mean, anything under par on this course is really scoring.
And that's Jessica Weiss for her par.
We've seen very few birdies on hole 11. Currently the 3rd hardest hole on the course. Majority, which is 53%, have carded par, but there's a lot of trouble to be had because of the shape of the fairway, downhill and technical.
Tiger is in for the double bogey. She goes to +5 on the round and sitting in sole position of 8th place. Vanessa Van Dyken's score, we take a quick look at that, but then we take a look at what Rebecca Cox did to finish out, picking up 4 birdies in the last 5 holes. And Rebecca saying that she's not listening when earlier I said how difficult it was to birdie 18. And it has been birdied a couple of times, namely by one Valerie Jenkins, whom I'm sitting next to. But it is a tough birdie to get in the FPO division. So to see her with that strong of a finish, congratulations to Rebecca Cox. Holcomb ready to go on the tee of 11.
11 is 605 feet. So 2 strong drives are required, and unfortunately Sarah's found herself pretty boxed in with the position her drive landed in.
So it is a straight shot, but the players want to make sure that they get a slight turn to the right at the end. Hyzering out brings a lot more trees into play.
Oh, that carries. Wow, that is a great shot by Haley King, remaining tree-free throughout the flight.
And she's probably bitten off more than half of the distance of this hole.
Page again left side, but ultimately will kick out into the fairway. Initial left release, I should say. And again, the wind picks up just as Katrina's ready to throw. We saw her stand down for a putt a few holes back. That was back on hole 6.
You got to think a storm might be coming in. Those are very, very strong winds.
Oh, there was a hailstorm out on Fox Run Meadows yesterday, that's for sure.
Have you been saving that up?
Those are off the dome, Elaine. That's what we do. Here's Kat.
And she's
bending
getting that
it.
late right turn, but she knocked into the middle of the fairway. She looked a little discouraged. I don't think she realized what a good kick she got.
The hailstorm we speak of. Mrs. King will take another look at her drive.
There was no layup in the mind of Haley King on the tee pad. That turn, that severe turn at the very end, it went so far past the corner. And with Sarah Holcomb in trouble, Haley King has an advantage.
Yeah, where Sarah got caught up in that pocket, Haley skipped on through. It's quite a narrow opening, so right-hand, backhand players cannot swing it wide to get their turn. They're forced to throw a flip up.
And you want the shot to continue through this tunnel and finish off into that grass on the right.
Paige almost on the short tee.
I think there's several tee pads. There's a even shorter tee pad just up there on the right-hand side of our screen. That's the one you want to be behind.
We saw the great finish earlier by Rebecca Cox, and also keeping our eye on Erica Stinchcomb, who has put together 5 birdies in 6 holes, really turning things around after hole number 8. And she's looking for a good finish out here today.
She's moved her way up 1 position today, and she was kind of in no man's zone there in 9th place. But with the string of birdies, she is starting to make the climb, and now she has Lisa Fakis in 7th place in her sights.
She certainly does. She's gotten past Tiger Borth, who we just saw a few moments ago. That's the 1 position she's leapfrogged.
So Katrina probably has about 400 feet to cover on this journey to the basket. Lining up a sidearm. She's going for control, I think, lining up the sidearm.
Yep. As I was just about to say, if that stays clean, I think it's going to track all the way to the pin. It gets hung up, and from there, Kat is hoping to pitch up. Lisa Fakis here on the tee of 12.
Lisa can't see the basket from the tee, but she's lining up a great line, in line with the road. Allow the disc just a hyzer finish at the end, finds its way through the trees, and Lisa is parked on 12.
The aggressive fist pump there. She's trying to maintain that little cushion she has in front of Erica Stinchcomb. We'll see what she can do with her birdie look. She's, again, 2 strokes ahead of Erica.
Well, Sarah's got a gap. It's a narrow gap, but it's makeable. make it she does.
That's a great line. Just a matter if she can get a little extra skip or ground play. She'll at least have a look at getting up and down then for her par.
And scrambling is key. Being just off the fairway, Sarah having an opportunity with a line to hit. She put a lot of power behind that drive, and with the hillside, I think it trickled down. To have a look at par still after that drive just shows how great of a wooded player Sarah Hokum is.
And hole 11 at 605 feet, we have only seen one birdie so far today. Good looking shot and puts Paige in circle one. You could see the birdie count increase.
We're still making our way down to Haley King's incredible drive. Well over 400 feet. Some players are lucky to see this spot on their third or fourth throw. Haley King doing work with the drive.
She stopped just in that cluster of trees, so she's going to have to get around them. But we know what a great sidearm she's got.
This is high. Oh, and she fights her way through. It's great to be inside that cluster, that blockade of trees right before the pin. Set you 20, 30 feet from it.
And Tiger with a good, solid upshot on hole 12.
There's Heather Young. You see how much the wind has picked up. Back with Sarah Hokum's third shot.
This is a tight line for the rarely used backhand from Sarah Hokum.
She hit the initial gap, which is important. A little bit farther to the left than she was hoping, but certainly within circle one and a very makeable putt. And as you were saying, Val, those guardian trees are posing a lot of the challenge for the players to get right up to the basket.
And Lisa completes the birdie on hole number 12. She was the only woman to birdie hole number 11, where our lead card is right now. And taking a quick look at the leaderboard, it's really now officially just become a two-woman race. Hokum, King, Pierce not able to make a charge in the early goings. It would take something beyond heroic at this point, with just this many holes left, for her to go ahead and make a charge at the lead. As you said earlier, Elaine, it's just, I think, a matter of now Paige or Kat who will finish on the podium in that third spot. This is Kat for par. Oh, that looked good. Just a little short on the downhill putt.
She's reflecting on her upshot and not necessarily the putt attempt, but gotta get past those trees.
Paige with a chance here to separate herself by yet another stroke from Kat. can't connect, and Pierce will take the bogey just as Allen does.
Birdie look for Haley. Converts. Haley joining Lisa Fakus for the only 2 birdies on this hole.
Haley pulls out in front with the lead. This is Sarah for par.
Very deliberate standing over that par putt. Important to focus in and just limit it to just 1 stroke.
Paige will also tap in for the bogey. And to take the outright lead, Haley King converts on hole 11. She's your new leader. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have the exciting conclusion on the other side of this break right here on the Disc Golf Network.
The Combat Commander has enough space for all your discs here and everything else you need here. We beefed up the construction while keeping it lightweight and made sure there's ventilation so you can stay cool while waiting for your friends to throw because you just outdrove them. Or while you're looking for your disc in the OB. Either one.
I started playing disc golf with my family when I was 8 years old. When I was 16, I got my first job as a cook at a bowling alley, and that's when I made my first batch of beef jerky. As I got better at throwing, I also got better at making beef jerky. Everyone told me they loved my jerky. After 15 years of making my beef jerky as a hobby, I decided to make it available to everyone. Double G Craft Jerky. Give it a try. You're gonna love it.
Welcome back, everyone. With the birdie on hole number 11, Haley King is your new leader. She's been knotted up with Sarah Holcomb for the previous few holes, but Sarah Holcomb started the day with a 4-stroke deficit. Very quickly, she narrowed that down and ended up tying with Haley, and now Haley has regained the lead by a single stroke. Paige Pierce 9 off the pace of where Holcomb is, and even more so for Katrina Allen, who's 11 back of Holcomb and 12 back of Haley. So Katrina has lost 1 stroke to Haley since starting today. It might be early morning here, guys, but that's some quick math for you.
It's important to keep loose.
That's a good ball, Haley. That's a pretty good ball. Is it a water ball?
And, you know, I'm loving seeing Haley having a extracurricular activity during the break. She plays best when she's not too focused on anything that she might have done amiss, and this just helps keep her loose and happy. And that might be the Haley patented move. Doing the paddleboard during the break. If you've got an unusual and unique paddleboard that you would like to have a patent on, well, talk to Sunstein. They can tell you how your paddleboard needs to be different than other paddleboards that have been invented in the past so that you can have intellectual property. Sunstein, for all your intellectual property needs. Did you like that? Val?
I love that, Elaine. And much like many of our top athletes in disc golf, they're gamers. No matter what sport or activity you put in front of them, they're competitive. And it's fun to see the extracurricular activities that they do on the course.
I feel like you shouldn't be able to throw anything that's like this shape.
Right, but
Katrina, what'd you take on that one? Okay. Me and Cat 5. Yeah.
And Haley ready to go here on the tee of hole number 12. And the one-stroke advantage. See if that hooks up at the end. And I didn't see that come into frame. I'm not sure if they got stuck or held up back on the fairway.
Sarah trying to get a wind read, and of course they're throwing right down that service road, and as we've seen before, that provides a tunnel for the wind to come streaming through. But as we've seen today, it's gusty. If it's really windy when you're on the tee, just wait for 10 seconds and the wind might abate. Or it might get stronger. Pause in the wind. Sarah lets go.
Turned over a little too much. Gets the backdrop of the trees. And she is maybe just outside circle 1, but definitely within range for birdie. This hole has been playing slightly under par on average. Is a chance to make up a stroke.
Early hit from Paige leaves her well outside circle 2. At 365 feet, it plays shorter. There's a little bit of an initial uphill, and from there it's all a very gentle slope downhill. So it's a matter of getting the right height over the crest of the hill, keeping the disc as straight as possible if you're a right-hand backhand, and just letting the disc coast and naturally fade in, which Katrina shows very well by that throw that is perhaps just outside the circle.
Kat's line was the most accurate. Came in a little bit hot right at the basket. Looks like it skipped just about to circle's edge. Just really dialing it in. Let's see if she can convert on the putt. And this hole plays very similar to what we see on back on hole number 6, where it's just kind of that blind downhill hyzer for the righty backhander. Katrina can't see exactly where that finish is, but she should be happy with the result.
It gives her a chance. For every chance you have, it increases the possibility that you'll convert on a certain proportion of the chances. But Haley did get caught up early on the fairway. She's only at the short tee with a little bit of an awkward position. You could take a sidearm, yep, which she eventually decides is her best option.
Haley has to throw it high.
And that's the problem with the sidearm is those trees are exactly where you want the disc to be tracking.
Really just with those two trees, those two bigger trees down there for her to beat, she would have loved to be left of them and have it fade into the pin. And as she connects, she's going to have a little work to do to save her par. Here's Fakis.
Great shot on that squirrely hole 13. We'll see more of hole 13 in a moment, but meanwhile, Paige has got a bit of an awkward stance and a very long putt. It just turned into a layup.
Frustration out of Pierce. Looks like Sarah's heading to her lie, meaning she is likely outside of Haley's shot. Haley, of course, lying too. Interesting to see just how confident. I mean, her putter has been on fire today. However, knowing that if you catch any edge, it could easily get up and roll, say, back to where Katrina's disc is. It's a huge moment here for Sarah Hokum. She's running it. Oh, just tickles the chains, not enough.
And confidence is soaring with Sarah Hokum's putt. When you have confidence that you're going to make any comeback putt, it makes it very easy to run at putts like that. Haley with her attempt for par.
Wow, so even with the missed opportunity by Hokum, she's still going to pick up a single stroke on Haley. And they will be all knotted up yet again. See if Katrina can shrink the gap, I think would be a better word, between her and Pierce.
She's just outside the circle, so she can follow through on her putt, which she's definitely planning on doing. That's her preferred style. And we've seen her connect with quite a few putts on this round. We've seen her miss a couple just narrowly. And this is another one of those narrow misses. Her driving game has been so strong all weekend, and the reason she isn't up with the leaders is because her putting game is just not connecting. And Haley will not be happy about picking up a bogey on this very, very birdieable hole. There's plenty of room. It favors a backhand, and that's definitely a mistake.
Taking another look at Sarah Hokum's shot.
And Sarah, knowing that she had an opportunity to possibly gain 2 strokes, it's a great position to see Sarah in. You know, we always attribute her game plan to just consistent golf, laying up for pars, but Sarah is in that attack mode today, and she has certainly been racking up the birdies with the aggressive putting style she's been putting on.
We heard her as she came back saying, well, maybe I should have putt with this other putter, as she was talking to her caddy, Steve. Just a little off the mark, but again, she's still going to pick up the stroke, and we are all square through 12 holes. Just a third of the course left to play. We saw we saw Lisa Fakis with her approach shot a few moments ago. Here's what she has left. This is her third.
She's in very good position, just a short shot up to the basket.
Yeah.
And did she hit a little metal there?
She was definitely excited.
So hole 13 is a challenging hole. It's 6th most difficult, and this is one where players should be looking at the par. Par is a great score out here. We have not seen any birdies today, but hitting your line, getting yourself into the correct position, a par is an incredible score on this dog leg to the right hole.
It's 545 feet. That doesn't sound like it's such a long distance, but it's very technical. And you can see it goes straight with, again, a little bit of uphill, and then it takes a bend to the right, as Val was mentioning. And it's very easy to misjudge where that bend is. A lot of players cut it off too early. Wow. And no misjudgment there from Sarah Holcomb. She has rounded the corner and then some.
Holcomb is locked in, and she has had that caddy for several tournaments. They have an incredible relationship, and he is certainly keeping her focused.
She swings it wide, but not enough Anheuser. However, the tree gives a gentle nudge in the right direction.
It is a difficult backhand throw. As you're mentioning, it's tough to know where the corner is, and you need a lot of space to make an Anheuser turn.
A little bit early and a very fortunate kick. That cat is now in the fairway and will be able to navigate her second shot a lot more easily, as if the disc stayed up where it was heading.
This looks a little tight, but it might find the gap. It gets through the initial gap. However, it's hung up on the right side, nowhere near the position that we find for Sarah Holcomb. So she'll have some work to do. But now, looks like we're going to have a little highlights from the Tim Selinsky U.S. Masters that's taking place, the PDGA Major. Owen Scoggins getting some work done out there. Owen out in front. She has a single stroke lead going into today's round over Jennifer Allen.
They have quite the battle happening. We have Jennifer Allen, Des Redding, Mel Ring. But Owen coming off of her World Championship title in the Masters division. I'm sure she is vying for that double whammy for the year.
Here's Pierce.
Ooh, taking the aggressive line through the trees, and she lands very nicely.
Yeah, we often talk about that bridge being just a really great landmark of knowing where you want to be and how you want to position yourself to try and pitch or get through the tunnel that leads to the basket. Here's Jessica Weiss. It's her second shot for birdie.
And that definitely hit a little bit of metal for birdie. Katrina doing a sidearm, which you wouldn't think would be the natural shot. However, once you get over the crest of the hill, the land slopes towards the right, and that's not what she intended to do. She intended to take that shot, aim it over the road, and have it skip back to the right side of the road. That was definitely an errant throw.
Now we have Lisa Fakis for her birdie attempt.
Soft go for it, which is a good strategy given the fast green. And now Haley finds herself boxed in.
Wow, this is a big moment for Haley, because if she gets very aggressive and connects with something, she could find the other side of the fairway.
She's got a driver in her hand. Wow. That punched all the way through, continued to fly down the road, and she is almost basket high. The aggressive play might pay off. There is certainly a wall of trees between her and the basket.
Now the birdie look for Heather Young from inside the circle on 14. And the
Again,
smooth lefty cans it.
so smooth.
And she makes it look effortless, and I guess that goes hand in hand with the smooth release. Here's Sarah Holcomb, great position after her tee shot.
Well, not only that, Terry, but this next shot sets up so well for a sidearm.
Needs to push right, and it does.
And she made the correct strategy. You want to err on the side of swinging it wide. If you get too much on the inside, you are completely snookered. When you're on the outside, you can step out for a little, throw up that tunnel there to the basket.
Sarah Holcomb is feeling good and hitting the lines. So Katrina, she's able to reach out and get a sight on the next shot ahead of her.
She has to navigate the first grove of trees and then navigate the tunnel.
This is a great line.
That was such a hard shot to execute.
Patent pending stance for Katrina Allen. Most of the way through the tunnel, she gets the double kick, which I think offsets one another, and good look at saving her par. Now Paige also in great position here for her third shot. She'll be able to play basically a straight shot that has just the lightest fade as it's pushing through the tunnel.
You gotta hope for a little bit of luck if you don't hit the fairway perfectly, but Paige finds a gap just a little long of the pin, but it'll be a clear look. And this shot from Katrina, with that stance, you really have to still use the leg power behind it. And Katrina getting all the power she needs. Not only was it a technical shot, but she still had a good amount of distance to get to the pin.
It is so hard to hit your line when you're stretched out like that. And what we saw from Kat is she stretched out, but then she stood up to throw, and that's the key on that type of patent pending shot.
How many years has it been? Why isn't the patent approved yet?
Well,
should we call Sunstein?
I mean, yeah, Sunstein has not been on the job. They should definitely get on the job, Val.
Welcome at the opening. Their third shot. A little fluffy. Makes her laugh, and she will have a tester putt. But with what we've seen out of Sarah today, shouldn't be a problem.
Haley's saying, well, there's got to be a gap somewhere in here. Where is it? Honestly, she's got to hope for a little bit of good fortune if she is going to try and plow through, or more likely over, that very dense swath of trees.
With a few pine trees in the mix, it really just creates such a wall of trees. There is a more open route beneath the branches, but Haley King needs a little bit of luck on her side to get to the basket.
And that is likely going to be well short. It's just really an impossible position where Haley was in. There was no good play. She probably did have the highest percentage play by just trying to force it through a high gap. And she still has a few trees to navigate between her and the basket.
Haley's deep inside circle 2. This is her putt for par.
Oh, it's so close, just off the front of the basket.
Great recovery shots from Haley on this hole. But strokes can start to compound, but she did play the aggressive line. It paid off with distance, but unfortunately it just kept her out of position. And another great attempt at an aggressive line going for that putt. Is this where it kicked to? This is no easy comeback putt.
No, there's a really severe downhill after the basket, and I'm surprised as well it got as far as it did.
This is going to hurt. Haley King will be taking a double bogey after she drops in that putt.
That was a good-looking putt. A little bit to the left, but not too much wrong. That's definitely discouraging. Meanwhile, Sarah is closer than we thought.
She knows the magnitude of how important this putt is. Even though it's short, I expect Sarah to go through her whole routine to guarantee this par.
This is a big moment. Sarah just is not making much in the way of mistakes, and that is what has kept her at the top of the leaderboard.
Cat low left side, but will still pick up a stroke on Paige Pierce as she taps in for her par. Pierce in for bogey, and now just one stroke separates the two of them. Haley's double bogey drops her back to 4 under par, and now a 2-stroke deficit to Sarah Hokum.
That is Haley's second double bogey of the round. And I am just so surprised with this.
There's the roll. Yeah.
Very unfortunate roll.
And, you know, Haley didn't even see that roll. Her back was to her disc. She was discouraged about missing.
Well, and I feel like a broken record, but we have yet a different leader again. Sarah Hokum and Haley King jostling back and forth between one another. Just when they get knotted up, the other one then jumps out in front. This time Sarah Hokum, 2-stroke advantage.
And there's a battle for third. 1 stroke between Paige Pierce and Katrina Allen. 5 holes to go. Lots can still happen because these are not an easy 5 holes. We've got some birdie opportunities, but we also have some of the toughest holes ahead of us.
Yeah, holes 15 and 16 playing as 2 of the most difficult holes on the course. Hole 14, however, quite the opposite. Plays as one of the easiest holes on the course, but it definitely sets up better for the righty backhand shot. Let's see how Hokum can attack.
She gets a full flight out of it. This hole is only 240 feet. Easily reachable, and Katrina shows what you do. You just take your mid-range and just pop it up by the basket.
Players with a lot of power can get their mid-range there. I opted for the fairway driver just to make sure I was within putting range.
It is uphill. It's interesting how many of these holes seem to be uphill and almost nothing is downhill. And Paige just a little bit offline, and the tree says no.
Of course, Haley King is frustrated with her last two holes, but she is still very close to the lead. She needs to stay focused.
See if that skips down onto the left side. No, it checks up. Very makeable position for Haley King. Last year, her and Paige Pierce were battling it out. Paige ended up getting the best of her, but is there anything we're seeing from last year?
Well, I don't want to say it, but miss putts, but the frustration from Haley is something that we saw a lot out of last year. I mean, she is so incredibly talented. There is no ceiling on what she can do. And I think it just started to compile. She can string up birdies, but the errors can also happen quickly with how aggressive Haley King can be. If she can stay focused and not let those negative thoughts creep into her mind, she can still continue to push this to the very end.
And Val, I think we are seeing a much stronger mental attitude from Haley. We've seen her get frustrated, but we've seen her pull herself back from it. We've seen herself having fun with Paige during the breaks, doing a little paddleboarding. Paddleboarding, that's the water sport. Anyhow, she was having a lot of fun with Paige, and it's having yourself engage in activities like that that's so important for someone who feeds on emotion and is just so vested, so wanting to win. Just having those emotional breaks are really important for someone like her.
Sarah Holcomb wants the championship. She cans another putt. She is on fire here today. That is her 6th birdie of the round.
And an unexpected birdie for a forehand thrower on this hole. Sarah Holcomb, insane putt just inside the circle.
You can tell how confident she is of how high the putt is.
And Katrina had the chance to again to actually pull up to a tied position with Paige Pierce. Paige is going to be looking at a par. Kat's birdie opportunity is going to keep her one back of Pierce. Now Haley King just to push Holcomb on this hole, and she's done that. She answers with a birdie of her own, but will still have a 2-stroke deficit with just 4 holes left to play. This is Pierce for par.
That was a little bit low, but it bounced in. Good enough for par.
Kat is in for par. She's got 2 birdies and 2 bogeys today. Much better than the +9 that she had in round 2. But right now, Sarah Holcomb collecting her 6th birdie.
And there's a slope behind the basket, making that putt very scary if you don't hit metal. But Sarah is just so locked in on the chains, and that was huge. Knowing Haley was still close to the basket, could get a stroke back. This is the chess match we're seeing, and Sarah Holcomb has been able to withstand the pressure that has been put on all of the putts today.
I feel like so much of this event and what we're going to see as a conclusion comes down to this next tee shot. Hole 15 is so daunting. You have to get it onto the island. Otherwise, you go to a drop zone. You're all but guaranteed a bogey 4. And if Sarah Holcomb can just put this on the island, wow, her confidence is going to be sky high with just a few holes left to play. As you're also seeing, she has never finished outside the top 3 in Vermont. Loves playing in this area, and she has won this event back in 2019.
It's a narrow gap that you need to hit.
Oh,
Boom.
and she's hit it.
That's all she needs to do. Anything else is bonus.
And with the forehand, she finishes to the right-hand side of the fairway. There is the out-of-bounds line once you get over into the island green rides the left. So with gravity playing against the backhand player, OB can come into play quickly.
Haley right through the center of that gap. A nice low shot. She didn't make the mistake she made the first time around at Brewster. Kept it low. It skitters up, and she will be looking at the basket for a short approach shot. Another drive right in the center of the gap. More aggressive, and she actually overreaches the basket. There is an out-of-bounds wall there. It looks like she checked up just in front of it. Fantastic. 370-foot plus drive from Katrina Allen.
Well, Paige gets over onto the island side. It doesn't stay clean, but she is inbounds.
And somehow hole 15 can be so hard to hit that gap, even though you've been hitting gaps all round. But Sarah Holcomb is on her game. She is focused. She is confident. You can see it in her stance, her demeanor, chatting with the fans, joking around. She's feeling great.
Up ahead on 16, the downhill shot, which bends from left to right.
Oh, she's hit the initial gap.
Coming in just in front of the basket, a little skip past it, but Jessica Weiss flashing in front for the ace.
Ace attempt on a hole that's given so many competitors so many problems. Paige has got a straight shot to the basket. She needs to make sure she doesn't let the disc fall to the left too early, because the slope just gets away to the left of the basket and she could find herself out of bounds or with trees. And that checks up nicely with a little nudge from the tree to keep it close to the basket.
That'll work. She'll likely be collecting her par. I just want to briefly touch on what we're seeing here with Sarah Holcomb getting her 6th birdie of the round. Again, in round 2, she just had a single birdie. So to go from 1 to 6, and she still has a few opportunities left, super impressive. Also, Haley King, she had 0 birdies during the last round she was here just 2 days ago, and she has collected 5 of them today. So talk about making adjustments, coming out and attacking this course. Both Holcomb and Haley doing just that in this final round.
And I love the tournaments that allow players to get that redemption. Being able to play both of these courses twice throughout the tournament gives players a chance, that second chance to do better.
Sarah with the safe shot on the drive. She has no real option but to execute a backhand. She's going to have to keep an Anheuser line on her shot.
Skip a little, and it does. Should be good enough for Sarah Holcomb. This putter's been just about flawless today.
And what I liked about that is Sarah, even though she was leaning out, she did stand up before she executed the shot, and that allowed her to keep the correct line on the disc.
Haley could really change the momentum of her card here. And
that was
going to result in a par.
a pure layup from Haley, and it's good to see. She's an aggressive putter. She could have likely run at that putt easily, but it brings in all these other obstacles. And with the pressure building on her shoulders, just lay it up underneath the basket, take your par, and move on.
And that's where we're seeing the maturity develop. Is, you know, even a year ago, she might have just been all gung-ho and feeling like she needed to make the putt. And now she's making a calculation. You could see it on her face. She was calculating about the pros and cons, the risk reward, and wisely decided this was not the shot to take the risk on. Meanwhile, Katrina Allen, after her drive, is within the circle. And again comes up just a tiny bit short. She's all over that basket.
A little tentative, a little bit short, but it creeps up and in. Sarah Hokum with a big smile on her face, knowing she just has 3 holes left to play. She has a 2-stroke advantage.
And there's something to be said about putting perfectly. There's a moment where you have to put that doubt aside, and maybe there's a moment where she realizes, man, I haven't missed a putt all day. I mean, these are still the thoughts that can go through a player's mind and cause them to slip up. But Hokum able to set up here, and even though this isn't the most pure putt she's had all day, it is in the basket, and she remains 100% from the circle.
It was a little bit of a downhill putt, and I'm not sure she's had to do too many of them. And as you can see, it was a little nose down and a little low, but good enough to get it in the basket and to keep her 2-stroke advantage over Haley.
Well, and speaking of advantages, Owen Scoggins ended up tying with Des Redding. In fact, Des Redding, I should say, birdied her last 4 holes, and those two are tied. They're going into a sudden death playoff at the Tim Selinsky U.S. Masters. So I know we saw Owen a few moments ago during a little highlight package. Des Redding putting on the heat, getting the last 4 birdies of the round to Owen's 2, and they're headed to a playoff. We'll keep you posted. Here's Sarah Hokum.
Oh, she has corrected the error she made in the first round. The first round, she found herself in a world of trouble. She corrected that mistake with a straight shot off the tee, just letting the disc work to fall a little bit higher towards the basket. She's wide, but she will take it.
Haley King to match the incredible drive from Sarah. Heiser's in even earlier. She is basket high. Advantage Haley. And there's an out of bounds line on the right hand side of this fairway. So the backhand shot needs to turn.
Yes,
This is
Kat's shot is turning away from that OB stone fence that you can see in the right hand of the screen. She may have a little look at a putt from there.
Pierce the turnover with not enough turn. Well, she gets a little ground play, and she's at circle's edge. I'm going to take another look. Haley King trying to reapply the pressure. She's 2 down to Sarah Holcomb right now. She's hoping to have that lead.
She wants to inch closer
We'll
to
be
the
back
lead.
for the conclusion after a word from these sponsors.
Me and my brother and my dad were out there for hours just playing disc golf, having fun.
That's like one of the first things we usually say. It's a great family sport.
We got to do it as a family.
And it builds relationship. Like, I know my dad so much better because of disc golf.
It's nice that that's something that we can connect and go do together.
My parents are 100% behind it. Bad rounds, good rounds, doesn't matter. They always have a smile on their face.
We don't call it sacrifice. We call it fun.
Get out there and have fun. At the end of the day, most important is have fun.
Excellence to me is about constant self-analysis. Which habits are helping me towards my goals and which ones aren't? It's the same with nutrition. The foods I eat should help make my mind and my body the best they can be. Thunderbird makes that simple.
Back with Katrina Allen, who's just pitching up or trying to pitch up toward the pin.
Yeah, with her putting game, she doesn't want to even get into the conversation with a long putt. She wants to keep her putts to 10 feet or less if she can.
And with the battle happening between Katrina and Paige, putting statistics are about the same. It's a flip the coin to see who's going to make her putt inside the circle.
Outside the circle, with 2 trees framing a narrow gap for her putter to traverse.
Wow, this is a very, very congested putt.
She'll be putting with the spin in electron plastic. That is an understable putter. Perfect for occasions like this where you want the putter to keep the Anheuser line.
Wow.
She hit her line. She was not tentative. A little bit high,
Tough needle to thread right there.
but still feeling good about the attempt.
And Pierce will add another stroke of cushion between her and Katrina Allen.
Watch the way she arches her back just as she releases to keep the disc on that Anheuser line. She had to get around the tree. That's how it's done when you got a putt of that particular configuration.
Cat for par.
In
Cat,
the sweet spot.
Cat has struggled, as has Pierce today on the green. And a near park job here for Haley King, so she will easily pick up the stroke. And just like that, Sarah Holcomb's lead is cut in half from 2 strokes to 1, and just 2 holes left to play.
Well, why don't they play?
And the beautiful putt from Holcomb, just barely high. She felt like she released it on the perfect line. And of course, it was a challenging line to hit. So great attempt from Sarah, who continues to be aggressive when she's able to putt. The strokes gained total is the statistic that leads for her, but putting, she has had such a great performance this week.
Finding Lisa Fakis. This is her third shot. She's on the left side of the fairway.
That was a great sidearm through the skinniest of gaps, and as you can see, she lined up, didn't give herself too much time to fuss over it, and just by instinct almost just hit that narrow gap in front of her, and now she has a birdie, a putt from the green.
Jessica Weiss, a solid approach shot. That should be an easy tap in. That will be what she has left for par.
And 2 battles happening with our lead card.
For all the people who left their phone at home, we have the old style leaderboard following the group.
Heather Young with the forehand.
And this was the only hole on the first round at Brewster that caused Heather any kind of problem, and it looks like it's a much smoother journey for her on this particular trip through the hole.
Tiger was able to get to this position in 2 shots. Nice easy layup for a drop in par.
Tiger coming off of one of her best performances ever last weekend, 5th place at the MVP Open. She also was very excited about her performance yesterday. I think she said it was her highest ever rated round, 991 out at Fox Run Meadows. So certainly carrying plenty of that momentum into today's round. She's had a few struggles, but she's currently sitting in a tie for 11th.
It's Haley and then
Such a crucial moment to this tournament. Hole 17 playing as the 12th most difficult, averaging just a little under par at 3.93. He's Haley King on the tee, down 1 stroke to Sarah Holcomb.
She's gone big.
That's leaking left. And it went down into the ravine or gully area on the left side. She might have an obstructed forehand approach or backhand to come out of there. Here's Pierce.
She seems to be shaping her shot much better than Haley did, and that takes so much control to get that far down the fairway and not get into the gully.
You just really can't ask for a better drive than what we just saw from Pierce.
And Sarah Holcomb's strategy on this one is not the aggressive line off the tee. If Sarah can make it to the corner and then some, that would be an extremely great shot.
That needs to turn left or keep pushing and come back. We'll see how tight she is to that set of trees there. If she's away from it, then I think her approach is going to be much easier. If she's tight and up against them, she's going to have to get a little bit creative.
Katrina keeping it low so it doesn't leak too far left, but again, she looks like she may be contending with that small grove of trees. We do have some fairly enthusiastic galley spectators who are cheering every shot.
And Sarah Holcomb, predominant forehand thrower, can make any fairway work for her. She attacks these holes with different strategies, and it pays off. We'll see where she ends up, because those corner trees can create a problem. But we have 4 great drives off of this tee pad. working their way to the corner. If you don't make the corner, you are in deep trouble. But we have all 4 players just around this bend. There's the gully off to the left-hand side, excuse me. There's no out of bounds down there. This is the second shot. Straight up the gut with a slight bend to the right at the end. The basket is guarded on the left-hand side by these pine trees, so the more open look for a birdie run is if you can finish off to the right.
And now we'll see what Sarah Holcomb is left with, and this is what I was worried about, depending on how tight she is to these trees. We'll see if she's going to go for the immediate gap directly in front of her. It looks like that's really her best option at this point.
She'll mark her disc to get ever so slightly closer to the gap that she needs to hit. And you know, even if she was to step out to the left and do a backhand, that's not a great option either. So might as well go with what you know.
Well, if Sarah Holcomb can secure a birdie here, she obviously would be in perfect position to take this home. I think that would secure the championship. This gets some skip up toward the pin. Oh, and it doesn't. It's like it must have hit a rock or something so that it couldn't get up and continue to skip. She's in great position to still get up and down for her par. But first we'll have Katrina Allen.
And Katrina is able to step out to the right. And again, look how upright she stands. That's how she's able to get power to her shot and also direct it in the aim that she's intending.
And I'm interested to see where Haley ends up. I think she is down in the gully. And so for Haley, sounds like she might have just been just on the edge. So Haley, still a possible chance at birdie.
Looks like there might be a skinny tree or two which will prevent her from just having a wide open sidearm shot. She's looking at all kinds of possibilities.
Will this be a forehand roller?
She's going with the forehand. Is that going to catch edge? No, it skips forward. And Haley King trying to knot it up possibly here on 17, which is so crucial because hole 18 thus far this weekend has only given up 3 total birdies. We saw 1 on the opening day. That was by Natalie Ryan, and 2 today. So just 3 birdies on hole 18. And Pierce goes deep after a great tee shot. And you got to give the advantage to Haley King. You know, she is comfortable with that distance. It's about 350 feet. So hole 18 would set up to her advantage if she's in position. And here we see the forehand again. It just kind of scoots forward toward the basket.
Beautifully executed.
This is incredible. If we find ourselves in a playoff situation, we would start on hole number 1. They would play holes 1 through 6. If it's somehow still continuing, then they would play 16, 17, and 18. Again, in sudden death situation. But this is Sarah Holcomb. This is just a pitch up for the par.
Sarah is up there right next to the basket. She's looking at a no-stress par, but keep in mind that Haley is looking at a very short putt for birdie. Katrina also with her birdie putt. Gives it a bit of a chance, falls just short of the basket.
And I think that is going to all but secure our positioning for third and fourth. Paige Pierce will have a very short tap in for the birdie, but Haley King to tie it up. And she has done just that. On the 71st hole of the event, Haley King has again knotted up with Sarah Hokum.
I don't know about you guys, but my heart is pounding. This is the type of exciting finishes that we see out here at this event. And Haley King, for the second year in a row, she is in contention to win this tournament.
And Pierce's birdie will bring her to +2. That gives her 3 shots clear of Katrina Allen. With just 1 hole left to play, we'll see Paige Pierce finish in that final podium spot. Sarah with the par. And Kat is in with her par. That will keep her at +5. Jessica Weiss is sitting at +8, so that means third, fourth, and fifth all look to be relatively, or are in fact going to be secured. But Sarah Hokum and Haley King, final hole of regulation, all knotted up. Sarah erased the 4-stroke deficit to start the day. And we come to the 72nd hole at the Green Mountain Championship.
And as you mentioned, Terry, it's 345 feet. So the advantage goes to Haley with how much power that she has as we fly the fairway here. You can choose to go either on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of this large bush. We saw Haley go on the right side in round 2. She found trouble early. She actually ended up bogeying this hole, whereas Sarah Hokum in round 2 had a whole slew of pars, finished the day with a par. So I don't expect to see those same scores. Haley King has the aggressive line to park this basket. And Sarah Hokum, with the angles that she can create, she can get around circle 1 as well.
Haley is going to have to manage her adrenaline level. She is going to want to smash out the drive. It throws a little longer than 345 because it's uphill, but it does require accuracy. Haley's got to temper her adrenaline and focus on executing a smooth shot. We know she can reach the basket, but she can't let her enthusiasm get away from her and mis-execute the shot and end up with a bogey like she did in the first time through Brewster. Let's see how Haley is managing her mental game.
And for the biggest shot of the tournament thus far, Haley King, hole 18, final round. That's leaking to the left.
And thankfully, she flew through those trees. She still has a long look at birdie.
So King not necessarily applying pressure with that shot. Here's Pierce.
Following Haley's line, but doesn't get as lucky.
Hokum is very experienced. She's not going to be putting any pressure on herself to get a birdie. She's going to be thinking about executing a smooth shot, getting it up there. Par is fine. If she has a look for birdie, bonus. But she won't be afraid of a playoff.
Looks like too much turn. She needs it to finish. And Hokum even more out of position, I feel like, than Haley. Haley might have an open look. Hokum, I think from there, that's just going to be a pitch up to the pin.
Yeah, I don't think she has any kind of angle at it with that fruit tree that's in the way. Over the bush, under the bush, beside the bush.
Let's take another look at their tee shots. This was leaking left really the entire way. And as you mentioned, Val, she almost has to be thankful she didn't get caught up by one of those early trees on the left side like we saw from Paige Pierce.
She's motioning for the disc to turn over more, but really she landed up in a very fortunate position.
Sarah playing a similar route. She hits the line, but it continued to turn over just a bit too much. It's great to see these players standing up to the pressure. They knew what was on the line, and it takes a lot of focus to hit shots like that.
Oh,
just about.
Here's almost ringing it up for the birdie too.
There's, of course, a lot of thoughts running through Haley's mind, but the first one at hand is, I want to make this putt. It'll all determine if she has a clear look at the pin.
She would do well to just try not to think about anything and just look at her lie, look at the basket, and pretend she's in her backyard or her favorite home course, practicing putting, and to just treat it like that.
So as I mentioned, the obstruction between her and the pin, giving her a little more challenge. Haley will not be faced with this much obstruction. Looking just for a little backhand pitch right up next to the pin.
She gets hung up on the last tree, so she still has a sizable putt. Of course, lots of pressure.
Oh, the one mistake she couldn't make. Haley could end it right here. Haley King. Brush with the tree, then brushes against the chains, almost ending it on 18. And now all pressure back on Sarah Holcomb.
Yeah, Sarah just really needed to put that approach shot way wide. But has she been perfect on her putting all day?
She has. She's going to need one more perfect putt to extend the tournament. Sarah Holcomb for the tie.
The silence in the crowd says it all. Haley King takes a deep breath, knowing that she put on all the show she needed to.
And even with the bogey by Pierce, she again has secured her third place position at the tournament. Katrina taps in. Katrina Allen finishing in fourth. Sarah Holcomb giving the honors to Haley. Haley to win the GMC.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for your 2021 Discraft Green Mountain Championship presented by Upper Park Disc Golf champion. First time here at Smuggler's Notch Resort, Haley King. We are greenside with Haley King. What an unbelievable roller coaster around. The emotions are running high. Just tell us how you're feeling right now.
I feel like I'm gonna cry. Oh my god. I've been looking forward to this day since I first came here, and it just feels good for it to finally happen.
When was your first experience here? Does this mean a lot to you, being here at this place?
Yeah, my first time here was 2018 World, so it's been 3 years now coming back to here, and it just feels good to get it.
Last year you were in this position, so close, coming down the stretch. You weren't able to get it done. What kind of lessons did you take, and how were you able to battle today?
I would like to thank Paige Pierce. She didn't let me give up. She kept me going at the end, just kept giving me knucks and just kept pushing me. Yeah, I need to learn to just keep pushing, and I'm still trying to do that, but today was really rough, and I did learn a lot today.
It became a two-women battle down the stretch here. What can you tell us about Sarah Holcomb's play and how she battled?
Sarah played really well. She's always played this course super consistently, like under par. I feel like she always shoots the best out here. She's a simple game, just get threes and get out of the course, and it almost worked today, but I came back.
Yeah, you did come back after a rough 12 and 13. What kind of stumbles did you hit there, and what was going through your mind when you went bogey, double bogey on those two holes?
A lot was going through my mind. I just actually shut off for a couple of holes, and then Paige gave me knucks a couple holes later, and I just was able to turn it back on.
Yeah, unbelievable finish with some birdies down the stretch. Were you feeling the nerves? What was it feeling like being in your body as you made that charge back with a couple birdies?
It felt good. I didn't feel any nerves. I finally felt confident and just did what I needed to do for the first time, so it feels really good.
Looking ahead, the next Disc Golf Pro Tour event is a title that you currently own, Disc Golf Pro Tour champion at Hornets Nest. You're going to be in 5th place, it looks like, in the standings headed in. Does this give you a confidence boost? And you know, compared to last year, what kind of player is Haley King?
It definitely gives me a confident boost. I just feel like if I just stay in it, I can win, and it's going to be a battle, but I can do it as long as I stay in it.
Well, there you have it, folks. Haley King with a stunning come-from-behind victory. Congratulations, Haley, and good luck at the Tour Championship.
Thank you to DGA for our DGA end of play send off there. Before we cut away to our after show, we got to get one quick thought. Val, watershed moment for Haley King. This is her first Disc Golf Pro Tour regular event series victory. How incredible is that?
It is extremely incredible, and it has been an honor watching Haley's growth throughout these last few years. And you guys have to just take note. The moral of the story throughout this round today is it is not over until that last putt is in the basket. Although it looked like Sarah Holcomb was going to be the clear winner, Haley King stuck with it, and she ended up the champion at the end of the day. It's remarkable. It's amazing.
So close last year. She comes back and she gets it done here in the 2021 version. We're going to break down what she did, what the rest of the field did, and what we saw for the great shots out there today and the final round. We'll be back with you in a few moments for our OTB after show. Stay tuned. You're watching live disc golf right here on the Disc Golf Network.
Just like fierce, passion is something I feel when I'm playing. The Passion is a speed 8 neutral flying fairway driver that has a lot of glide and a straight finish. I intentionally wanted this disc to be a lightweight driver that makes distance feel easy. The Passion is the perfect addition to the Discraft lineup.
I'm Nate Skirmont. I'm the head of the phys ed and health department. Can't speak any more highly of the opportunity they're giving our school, the teaching that they're giving the kids, the energy they're bringing, for Zoe to walk us through it, and then again to have the pros really showing everybody, and then the kids getting a chance to do it. It's great for our school, it's great for the sport. You know, everybody's winning in this situation.
The National Amateur Disc Golf Tour. Take your first step into competition or your final step into professionalism. Visit nadgt.com for more information. The National Amateur Disc Golf Tour. Take your first step into competition or your final step into professionalism. Visit nadgt.com for more information.
And welcome back to the OTB After Show. Elaine King along with Valerie Jenkins. And Elaine, I'll start with you. We were talking about the battle that Sarah Hokum made it in the first place today, down 4 strokes, and very early on erasing that lead.
And as we talked about, Sarah was so confident right from the first throw. She was in her element. She knows this course. She knows she can score. And she put on such a show. 100% putting statistic until the very last putt. Well, second last putt as it turned out, but right until hole 18.
Yeah, and I think as we were watching Sarah get into position for that final putt, you're thinking, wow, she's made everything today. Literally 100% inside circle 1. You reminded me of the statistic as she was lining it up, Val. How surprised were you to see that effort by Hokum on that putt from inside the circle?
Well, it's like what Katrina was saying halfway through the round. You know, it's not the putt at hand, but it's the lack of the upshot getting her close enough. And with that much pressure on the line to make a tester putt like that, and it didn't even get basket high. That is just showing how nervous she was standing over that putt. I mean, for Sarah Hokum, this would have been a huge win for this season. She's only taken down one Disc Golf Pro Tour event, and that was all the way back in April, actually on a Silver Series back in April. So it has been a long time since Sarah Hokum, against the most elite competition in the world, to take down a title, and it all came down to that final putt. There's a whole lot of things that run through a player's mind, and her missing that putt, I mean, I was shaking a little bit because I know how disappointing that is after all the hard work she put in to catch up and to be in the lead. It just it's sad to see.
Yeah, and I think about, maybe to what you're saying, she was carrying over some of that disappointment or frustration from the approach, and she carried that right into her, it crept into her mind while she was lining up for that putt, thinking, why do I even have this much of a putt? I should be 6 or 8 feet away at worst, and maybe that carried over. I personally expected her to make it. I was thinking she's been so solid. She's made a few putts that are even almost outside of her comfort zone, and everything was center. She had that one, slightly low putt back on 15, but everything else looked so good and so confident, and she was carrying so much momentum from going ahead and making this charge. So I also have to say, again, because she was closing down, she had one birdie out here during the first round. It was hole number 1. Today she had 6 birdies. Haley King also. Haley King actually had 0 birdies out here during the first round. Came back and she collected 6 of them today. So dialing in the course, playing well under pressure, all of those things maybe.
I think the story here is how Haley managed the course, and that is remarkable. This course doesn't necessarily play to her strengths, but now she's showing us she's got the maturity, she's got the versatility. She didn't go for every shot. She tried to throw controlled shots with much better success than the round 2 at Brewster Ridge. So I was very impressed with the way Haley managed the course. She managed it just well enough that she could ride on the strengths of Fox Run and bring it home.
Well, and to give her full credit, she actually had 7 birdies out there today to Sarah's 6. She had a few more struggles or hiccups along the way, but 7 birdies compared to the 0 birdies a few days ago. I like those adjustments that she made, and maybe that does prove, yes, she can play well at Fox Run Meadows, where she collected 9 yesterday, and then comes back out here today and gets 7 of them. So certainly very impressive. I do want to give Sarah Hokum also the fact that 2019, we saw Sarah Hokum take this event down, and that's when we had Kristen Tatar here. We had a very stacked field. She was the champion, and she had a 5-stroke margin of victory a few years ago. So we know that she's always going to be a contender here. She still remains in the top 3 for anytime she enters Vermont. So solid play, but coming up a little bit short. And Haley King, ultimately your champion. But right now, we're going to take a look at the OTB Only the Best Shot of the Day. Let's go ahead and roll it. Yep, we said we're going to go ahead and roll that shot, guys. I know it's been a long week here in the Green Mountain Championships, and understandably, Haley King, the approach shot on 17 to put herself into position for the birdie.
Look how easily she seemed to execute that shot. It seemed to be effortless, but that was at least 200 feet with an obstruction right in front of her. And the angle that shot had to keep, the height, couldn't have been better done.
Yeah, and too much angle, that may get a cut roll and carry out to the right, not enough angle, and you could possibly find that, kicking back into the woods, whatever the case might be. But she had just the right speed, the right angle, the right control, slides it up next to the pin, and ultimately takes the birdie, and then rides that momentum into the 18th. Elaine, any final words or parting shots that you have before we close things out here?
I really enjoyed watching the different styles of play that were successful on both courses. Sarah with the very controlled, very considered, minimizing mistakes on both courses. Haley with the fire on Fox Run and mistakes as well, but so many birdies to cancel out many of the bogeys. You couldn't ask for 2 much more different styles, both equally effective on this course. So that, to me, made this a super entertaining tournament.
It certainly was. And Val, you have anything to say as we close out for our final event here on the Disc Golf Pro Tour regular season series events?
Oh, man. Yeah, it's been an incredible season, and what a way to cap it all off. Haley King, I just cannot express how proud I am to see a player grow like she has. And in today's round, I feel like she learned the most about her game and about keeping herself calm than we have seen in the years previous. And so for Haley, I'm sure she's going to be just relishing in this amazing victory, but also looking back on the times where she could have given up today, the times where she could have just let her emotions get to her like she has in the past. And instead, she made the choice to stay focused, commit to her shots, her lines, and ultimately that's what it takes to be a champion. And so Haley King learned one of the biggest lessons in her life, and congratulations, Haley. I can't wait to see what's next in a couple more big events still to end the season.
Well, and as Jeff had said, she owns the title at the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship. We know she wants to carry this forward. She wants to go defend that title. We're talking about one of the largest payouts, or the new largest payout of all time at that event. Those pressures, along with playing in a place like Hornets Nest and playing in the Charlotte area, so many things on the line. But Haley King, poised, looks like she's confident and ready to go. We're excited to see it. So we're going to close out for the FPO. We've had 4 very grueling rounds out here. Congratulations, of course, to Haley King, as she's your champion here for the 2021 Green Mountain Championships. For Elaine King, along with Valerie Jenkins, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. We've got the MPO coverage coming up to you. Can't promise it'll be quite as exciting. I know a few players would like to try to make it as such, but it's going to certainly be a good one for you. That comes into you at 2:30 Eastern. Once again, Green Mountain Championship winner Haley King. Congratulations to her, and we'll see you at 2:30.